Welcome everybody to tonight's meeting of the Escondido City Council. Please rise for a moment of reflection and remain standing for the flag salute.
Yes, please join me in a moment of reflection. We come together tonight to say thank you. Thank you for the privilege, the blessing, the honor it is to serve here in the city of Escondido. We come together tonight as a diverse community, a community from backgrounds, different beliefs, different presents, and different futures, yet one common goal, and that is the betterment of this city. We come together tonight to seek guidance, wisdom, and discernment during deliberations that transpire this evening. And in doing so, we lift up Councilmember Fitzgerald, Councilmember Martinez, Councilmember Christian Garcia, Deputy Mayor Garcia, and Mayor White. May they be granted peace and wisdom as they lead our city into a bright and prosperous future. Amen.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, this meeting is called to order, and we'll do roll call. Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Present.
Councilman Christian Garcia.
Here.
Councilwoman Martinez.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Garcia.
Here.
And I, Mayor White, am here. It looks like our individual for the proclamation is not here yet, so we'll move that and we'll just go into, there is no report out of closed session. We'll go to non-agenda public comments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We do have a number of public comments that are non-agenda. For the public's edification, if you do wish to speak this evening on any item, you just submit a yellow form to myself. They're located in the back, pens available. For this first section, we are limiting to 10 total minutes for oral communications because we do have excess of 10 minutes, and then we'll have the remaining balance at the end of the council meeting. So our first speaker, if they are here, they submitted this online, Malik Hadid. Malik Hadid. All right, not present. Janae Lesnow. Janae Lesnow. Adam Hopper. Adam Hopper. All right, none. Then Fernando Bernal and Jesus Bernal. I believe you're doing a joint. Yeah, you can come forward at the main podium to present. Yes. Yeah. Yes, you can come now. You have 3 minutes. Yes.
Hi, good evening. My name is Fernando Bernal, and I'm a vice president of Charros of Escondido with the president, Mr. Jesus Bañuelos, here presente. And the reason of us being here today, thank you for allowing us, the Honorable City of Escondido and City Mayor, and Mr. Garcia, Ms. Consuelo Martinez, and all the staff. The reason I'm here is we represent Charros of Escondido, and we're a nonprofit organization that was born in 1972. And so originally we were patronizing the lienzo charro, and of course, with the time, things change, and now it's been hard for us to work at the lienzo charro because of the present, what do I call, presidency or who had it before, which we believe they don't have any more charros available to make a team. And we have right now like 19 members, and what we need is access to be able to practice because our kids or grandkids and kids, they don't have access, or we don't have access to the facility so we can practice our sport. And because of that, we have to go to different counties like Riverside or either San Isidro, and have to drive, which is kind of dangerous, because we have to travel with horses, and so just because there's a lock on the place and we don't have access to it, and so we feel the necessity that it shouldn't be that way. So we only ask him, for the opportunity to be able to work within the city and or return is that we will make the place better. We will respect the ordinances of the city, and we just want to work because it's our, it's our tradition, and what we love, the sport that we love, working with horses and seeing our kids grow up, to be a part of these charros of Escondido.
Will you leave your phone number with the clerk, and I'll give you a call tomorrow for some follow-up?
Excellent. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next public speaker is Georgine Tomasi. 3 minutes, yes, it's just total limited time. Is this your phone number?
Good evening, City Council and Mayor. Good to see everybody. At a time when the current DC administration has created nothing short of a lawless, cruel, unruly, and untrained terror enforcers to unabashedly terrorize the American public in cities throughout the United States, what does this city, along with the Chief of Police, Ken Plunkett, think would be good for this city? Renew the contract that continues to allow Homeland Security, ICE, access and use of Escondido's police training facilities, which include the firing range. Some of our incredible members of this community discovered that the contract with Homeland Security has silently existed in this city since 2013. In fact, a copy of this contract has never been released to the public. The presence of ICE in communities has created an unsafe, unstable, and traumatic presence for all residents, particularly those among immigrant families, mixed status households, and communities of color. The deaths of Miss Renee Good, Alex Preddy, and the kidnapping of 5-year-old Liam Conejo Ramos and his father, Adrian Alejandro Conejo Arias, is an example of how vindictive, untrained force is being used not to keep communities safe, but to kill and arrest innocent people. Mayor White, council members, and Chief Plunkett, our community does not need or want ICE terrorizing residents in our city. My immediate asks tonight are the following. Direct Chief Plunkett to release the contract he recently signed with ICE and not renew that agreement. You were elected to keep residents safe in Escondido, not living in constant fear of being the next victim of ICE's cruelty and ICE's immunity from any egregious actions they would replicate in our city. Direct Chief Plunkett not to let ICE use city facilities to practice and later use their acquired skills to shoot and kill our neighbors, our friends, and our family. Direct Chief Plunkett to stop diminishing the well-trained police force we have in Escondido by enabling these lawless, poorly trained thugs to train and continue to terrorize this city. Our locally trained police officers are fully capable of addressing our concerns without the involvement of a vagabond federal enforcement agency that has proven to be an uncontrollable, unregulated, and undisciplined
The time has
thugs.
expired.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Darlene Simpson, and one thing I forgot to note at the beginning of the meeting, I understand there's tensions associated with this particular item that we're going to be discussing, but we do have a decorum policy, so everyone's going to have the opportunity to speak. You'll have the opportunity to share your voice, but just bear in mind that we do have a decorum policy. You're welcome to come forward.
Hello, everybody. I'm Darlene Simpson. I've been living in Escondido for 17 years. I've been voting ever since I've been 18. I vote in every local election and every national election, and I've been sitting in the background, and I decided to speak up about the ICE and the firing range. you may as well get gang members to come in our city and use the firing range. I noticed the executions that happened in Minneapolis. They're killing with impunity. Stephen Miller, their leader, the real president, told them to step up the chaos and put pressure on communities, especially blue states that didn't vote for Donald Trump. I think it's a bad idea, and I want to state for the record, no ICE in Escondido. Thank you.
Our next speaker is James Stone. Oh, and Mr. Stone, the gentleman's coming. Just grab his folder right behind you. He left it on the podium, just to let you know. That's fine. And this will be our last speaker because we're at 10 minutes after you speak. Thank you.
Thank you very much, all of the council members, for allowing me to speak yet again about the issues with the public art project. I actually had put together a pretty fiery speech for today, but to make a long story short, Mayor White directed me to Mr. McGlynn, who directed me to Mr. McKinney, and Mr. McKinney and I were able to highlight this in front of the Public Art Commission, and I heard from Zach Beck today that it is now back on the agenda for the Public Art Commission. I will say this, that all of us should be really embarrassed that we, as Escondido artists, a city of artists, there's 250 working artists who live in Escondido, a city of working artists, that the city residents who are artists were somehow cut out of the process. And I do think the process was faulted. I think the process needs to be reviewed, and I think that something needs to be done. So the one thing I will say is, as I talk to some of you kind of push it aside and say it's up to the Public Art Commission to make those determinations, and I will tell you, you're wrong. It is up to you as council people to oversee the Public Art Commission, and it's up to you, Dane, to make sure that the right decision is made. So I encourage you to do that. Do your jobs. Make everyone happy. That's all I have to say. Thank you. Oh, and everyone did a great job, by the way. The city did. You, where are you, Mr. McKinney? He's here someplace. Oh, did a great job. Did a great job. So thank you.
And just to clarify for the remainder speakers who submitted forms to speak on oral communication, you still will have an opportunity to speak. It's just going to happen at the end of the meeting now. I just want to clarify you're still going to have the opportunity to speak. Mr. Mayor?
Do you, before we move on, do you happen to have a phone number you could reach out to for Mr. Youssef to see?
Yeah, I've texted him already.
Okay,
yeah.
perfect. We will go on to the consent calendar. Items 1 through 7 are on consent tonight, and I would ask for a motion to approve. Great. Second? Perfect. Motion and second. Please vote.
Voting is open. Motion approved, 5-0.
All right, on to public hearings. The first one is a public hearing to consider a substantial amendment to the 2025 through 2029 Consolidated Plan, and the rest of it, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing and turn the time over to staff.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name's Danielle Lopez. I'm the Housing and Neighborhood Services Manager, and with me this evening is Norma O'Keen, Management Analyst that oversees the Home Investment Partnership or HOME program. On the agenda this evening will be a brief background on our HOME program, some considerations you may want to keep in mind as we discuss possible amendments, the proposed amendment to the 25-26 Annual Action Plan Home Funds, next steps, staff recommendation, and I also wanted to point out that there is a change to our original plan, and we will not be talking about the expiring home funds this evening, For purposes of clarity, we are separating the two items so that tonight we will focus on the amendment to the annual action plan amendments, and on March 4th, we will come back to you with a comprehensive plan for the expiring funds. So the purpose of today's meeting is to hold a public hearing to discuss the substantial amendment to the 25-26 home funds. As a reminder, on June 25th, 2025, Council approved the 25-29 Consolidated Plan and the 25-26 Annual Action Plan for home funds. Our total allocation, you see here, was $590,000. 10% was set aside for admin. 15% was set aside for CHODOs, or Community Housing Development Organizations. Rental subsidy program was budgeted at $72,000, and then the remainder of the fund went into an unallocated housing fund. This unallocated fund is where the first-time homebuyer program loans are paid out of. So if we have any, this is where, if we have any funds, this is where the first-time homebuyer programs are funded. Otherwise, the funding accumulates over several years, and then we do a solicitation for an affordable housing development, the most recent one being the Habitat for Humanity project, the El Norte project. And then on October 15th, 2025, Council directed staff to expand the home-funded programs, which triggered a substantial amendment. As a reminder, the home funds may only be used for the following 4 activities: rental housing, which could be acquisition, new construction, or rehabilitation; home ownership rehabilitation, which I think is pretty self-explanatory; tenant-based rental assistance, which we currently fund; and then home buyer activities. And those are things such as down payment or closing cost assistance or direct loans. These are our plans, which you're very familiar with. As you know, as a recipient of federal funds, the city is required to submit a 5-year consolidated plan, an annual action plan, and a consolidated annual performance and evaluation report. The action plan and the consolidated plan are the 2 plans that actually describe what we're going to be doing with our funds. Once submitted, if the city wants to make any changes, and the change is considered substantial, there's a required process that needs to be followed. So a substantial amendment is defined as the following: an addition or modification or elimination of a consolidated plan goal, an addition of a new activity not previously identified, or a change to the budget if the project is of $25,000, if the project is budgeted at $100,000 or less, or 25% of the budget if it's budgeted at $100,000 or more. A substantial amendment must be authorized by the City Council and must be available for a 30-day public review. With any substantial amendment, we're required to have 2 public hearings, one to introduce the changes and the second to approve the submittal to HUD. We're also required to provide a 30-day public comment period. In addition to that, we, as a team, also provide community outreach to receive additional feedback from the public. So on the next few slides, we're going to talk about some current issues that influenced our recommendation today. First is the Section 8 waitlist. We received notification that the San Diego Housing Commission and the Housing Authority of the County of San Diego will be closing their Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher waiting list to new applicants. It'll be effective February 1st for the San Diego Housing Commission and February 20th for the County of San Diego. This is due to the demand and cost of running the program outpacing the federal funding received. And as you can see there, based on the County of San Diego Health and Human Services Agency, they report that 876 Escondido residents are currently receiving housing choice vouchers, and 5,276 are on the waiting list. Next, we looked at 211 data. In 2025, there were 6,438 calls received from Escondido residents requesting referrals. Of those, the top 2 resource requests were for housing and utilities, totaling 36% of the calls. Of those 36%, 85% indicated that their housing need was immediate. And third, we have San Diego's inflationary rate. Local and national reporting noted that San Diego ended the year with the second highest inflation rate in the United States. So now we'll move on to the amendments. This one here is the expansion of the rental subsidy program. So currently, this program is budgeted at $72,000, and it serves a total of 30 households. Residents are eligible for this program if they are at least 62 years old, if their principal place of residence is within the city of Escondido, if their apartment complex or mobile home park manager agrees to participate in the program, if they don't receive rental assistance under any other federal housing assistance program, if they're on the Section 8 wait list, their assets do not exceed $25,000, and their gross income meets the extremely low income requirements of being at or below 30% of the area median income, or AMI. The proposed amendments include increasing the budget from $72,000 to $388,000, increasing the monthly subsidy from $200 to $400 per household, depending on household AMI, which would allow households at lower AMI to receive a higher subsidy. So for example, a household at or below 30% AMI would receive the full $400. A household at or below 60% AMI would receive $300. Next, we would increase the number of households served from 30 to 80. We would open up the program to all ages, and we would remove the requirement of being on the Section 8 wait list, since there will no longer be an option to be on that wait list. The next program we'll talk about is the first-time homebuyer program. So currently, with this program, eligible homebuyers may qualify, homebuyers may qualify for a low-interest loan limited to 5% of the purchase price that can be used towards a down payment and/or for closing costs. At the October 15th City Council meeting, staff were directed to explore the expansion of the first-time homebuyer program. However, subsequently at January 7th meeting, the City Council indicated a preference to maintain the program in its current form and focus more on the rental subsidy program. Therefore, staff are recommending no change to the first-time homebuyer program at this time. As I mentioned, or I think I mentioned in one of the earlier slides, this program is managed a little bit differently. So there's no specific budget set aside for this project. Loans are approved on a first-come, first-served basis, and they're funded from the home unallocated fund balance. So if we receive an application and it's approved, we fund it out of that balance. If we don't, the money stays in that unallocated fund, and it's accumulated over years to be used for a larger housing development project. Here we have our next steps. So today we're conducting the first of 2 required public hearings to introduce a potential amendment and receive feedback from the public and guidance from the council on what they'd like us to move forward with. Then during the month of February, we will conduct additional public outreach. Those dates haven't been determined yet, but we'll be sure to get those out to you as soon as we have them. Then we will make the plans available for the 30-day public review. And on March 4th, we will conduct the second public hearing where council will be asked to approve the amendments and the submittal of the plans to HUD, who will ultimately approve the plan or not. Again, we will be fleshing out our recommendation for the expiring funds, and we'll bring back a comprehensive recommendation on March 4th. On this last slide, this is a summary of the amendment that we'll be recommending moving forward with today. So we have our current budget breakdown versus the amended budget breakdown, which will significantly reallocate funding to the rental subsidy program. Our total allocation is $590,000, 10% set aside for admin, 15% set aside for CHODO, so no changes there. The rental subsidy was budgeted at $72,000. Now it will be budgeted at $388,000. And again, that will be going from serving 30 households to 80 every year moving forward. And lastly, reallocating the funding in this way reduces the unallocated funding amount from approximately $370,000 annually to $54,000. That will fluctuate because, as you know, our grant goes up and down slightly every year. So this is the recommendation that it's recommended that the City Council direct the staff to move forward with the proposed amendment to the annual rental subsidy program and maintain the first-time home buyer program as is. That concludes our presentation, and we're open for questions.
Perfect, thank you. We'll move on to public comments first.
Yes, we have a number of speakers on this item. First, James Cassidy. No, okay, no problem. Our next speaker will be Darlene Simpson.
Hi, it's me again. I came to speak on the expiring funds. I think that's it should be expanded to be used for not just the waiting list and not just seniors, but for everybody. Is this on topic? I want to also bring up the homeless people that I see it's expanding in Escondido. And that reminds me the rents are too damn high in Escondido and actually everywhere. But I'm talking about in Escondido, and I don't hear you guys addressing that issue. And I think we should start addressing the issue of rents. A lot of families can't afford. They're one paycheck away from being homeless. And we should be talking about that. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Victoria Nyack.
Hi. Hello, Mayor, council members. My name is Victoria Nyack, and I was here to comment on the expiring home funds, but I'm going to still go ahead and speak on that a little bit. So while it might seem like a relatively small item, especially with everything else that's happening in our city right now, I believe it reflects a much larger issue, namely how we choose to use the resources we already have to support residents who are most in need of help staying housed or getting back into housing. These home funds were awarded in 2017 with the purpose of expanding access to affordable housing in Escondido. And the fact that they remain largely unspent nearly 9 years later is troubling and warrants reflection on past approaches as to why they have not resulted in meaningful progress on affordable housing in our city. I hope that this moment can be an opportunity to intentionally review our policies and shift our approach away from systems that can feel punitive against those who are unhoused and towards solutions that actively work with the community to help people secure and maintain housing. And I do appreciate the notes that you put, and I really am excited about the changes that have been suggested. But I did want to speak specifically on the expiring funds, even though we're not going to talk about that again till March. I do, I'm going to speak about what was in the agenda item about expansion of the senior rental assistance program, which I don't believe that would go far enough in using the funds to their full potential. It doesn't have to be an either-or choice. We don't have to choose between helping seniors and other residents, and hopefully we can align that with what was suggested for the current year. So I would respectfully ask the council for the expired funds to amend that consolidated plan to expand the targeting of rental assistance, to establish a preference for individuals and families experiencing homelessness, in addition to seniors, include households not currently on the Section 8 wait list, as was just mentioned, it's closing very soon. And it's difficult for people who are working a 40-hour-plus week to take the time to get on that list sometimes, and they miss deadlines that they're not aware of. I would request that we allow for income-based subsidy amounts rather than flat-rate subsidies, and prioritize these expiring home funds for rental subsidies serving all income-qualified residents while continuing to support seniors, and view this decision as part of a broader commitment to addressing homelessness and housing instability in Escondido. Thank you.
Hold on one second. What was the last part you said? Expanding it, you said something based.
Income-based
Oh,
instead
okay.
of
I
a
just
flat
didn't
rate.
catch the
I
word.
believe that that's something that the staff had also put in. So, but I was specific, but that was on the current year, so I was talking about the expiring funds from 2017.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Maria Wallace.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Maria, long resident of Escondido. I'm here today to ask you to vote to amend the consolidated plan HUD home funds. It is the right thing to provide any needed rental assistance to residents of our city that are struggling. Please, council members, spend the expiring home funds on rental subsidized for income qualifying residents for all ages, not only seniors on the Section 8 waiting list. Thank you.
Our final speaker is Richard Cannon.
Hi, everyone. My name is Richard Cannon. I'm an Escondido resident. I'm commenting to speak in favor of the amendment. In general, thank you for your time today. Thank you for allowing public comments. Writing to urge the city to, consider the amendment and expanding the use of home funds beyond the current senior-based rental assistance to lower-income folks that are at risk of becoming homeless, are currently homeless, and are trying to find long-term supportive housing, and other hardworking families regardless of age. I have a couple example data points for why not only can this be the right thing to do for the community, but can also provide significant cost reduction for the city of Escondido by helping prevent and help folks exit homelessness. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Research clearly shows that preventing homelessness saves cities substantial amounts of money. According to national studies, which I can provide later if needed, every $1 spent on eviction prevention in the form of things like short-term rental assistance can save $4 to $5 in costs related to homelessness. On average, emergency shelters cost approximately $8,000 more per year than a housing subsidy. Eviction prevention can cost an average of about $2,500 per household, while emergency shelters for 1 month can cost as much as $5,000. Once someone becomes homeless, taxpayers spend an average of almost $15,000 per year, primarily for jail and emergency services. People experiencing homelessness visit emergency departments at roughly 3 times the rate of the general population, taking up a lot of the emergency department's time and eventually a lot of costs that are borne by those hospitals as well. Cities spend, as I'm sure the Escondido Police Department can attest to, a significant amount of money and time responding to and cleaning up encampments. Sometimes life happens, you have a death or extended illness in the family, someone gets laid off from their job, you get an unexpected medical or car bill that forces you to choose between rent, food, or car repair. And as the slides show earlier as well, a significant amount of the 211 calls have to deal with housing, and a lot of those needs are immediate as well. Nationally, these types of eviction prevention programs show as high as a 97% success rate in helping tenants avoid eviction. The city can work to prevent its residents from falling into homelessness and save a significant amount of money on emergency shelters, encampment cleanup, police responses, and emergency room costs. Working with existing partners like Interfaith, 211, food banks, et cetera, the city can quickly identify and provide that limited time-bound assistance to prevent people from losing their housing. Won't be able to finish the last one, but in addition, for those families that may be in transitional housing and ready to enter into full-time permanent housing, having things such as first and last month rent and security deposits, which home funds do allow the use for security deposits and utilities deposits as long as it's associated with a tenant-based rental assistance. So we're asking the city to consider the amendments, expanding it beyond just seniors who are also very important. But yes, so establish the tenant-based rental assistance beyond just seniors, help folks maintain their housing, and help folks exit into long-term permanent housing. Thank you.
No further public comments on this item.
All right, the public hearing is closed. I just have a few questions for you. Somebody approached me about the 10% going to admin. That is required, correct?
That is not necessarily required,
Not
but it
required,
is.
that's not the right word. It's allowed as like a.
It is allowed, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Allowed and encouraged, yes.
Can you go back a couple slides to the numbers? Go back one more. Maybe not. Maybe I just wrote it down. The assets over 25,000. Who sets that standard?
We do.
Where did we come up with that number?
It was historically the requirement of the program. We could certainly look into if we can change that, but
I'm just thinking, even with car values today, you could have a used car that's 10 years old that's worth more than $25,000 that just happens to be paid off. So I'd be interested in entertaining increasing that if the rest of the council was. And then I have another question. What is considered low interest when we say we're given a low interest loan?
3%.
Okay. All right. Who sets that rate?
We do.
Okay. Okay, I'd be interested in entertaining both. And then can we switch it, like Victoria said, to income-based instead of just a flat rate?
That is the recommendation.
Oh, okay.
So
I missed that
the
part.
60, if you are 30% AMI or lower,
Perfect.
you'll get the full subsidy of $400, and then 60% would be $300.
Perfect. All right, that concludes my comments. I'll turn it over to the rest of the council.
Go ahead.
Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for, listening to us and taking our recommendations, not just ours, but the communities as well. I think we've all collaborated pretty well and given some good input. I love the amendments. I would also second what the mayor had said in his suggestions, if we could at least look into that or, see what we can do about that. And just thank you, everyone. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Actually, I don't have much to add other than good job. And I think we are all in agreement as far as needing to help our residents. If you could go to slide, let's see, is it there we go. Never mind, it's right here, slide 9. I wanted to see how many calls from Escondido specifically. So especially with the Section 8 wait list being closed, I mean, it's really important that we really help our own residents. I'm really glad, I like the model of expanding the program, not only for seniors, but people of all ages and families. And again, I believe that we're all in agreement. So good job, good presentation. And I also agree with some of the additional changes that the mayor recommended.
Thank you for the presentation and for incorporating our asks as well as the public's ask on this issue. Could I go to the slide that references the Section 8 information, please? Okay, I had a question on this one. The 5,276 people that are on the waiting list, are those Escondido residents only, or is that countywide?
That's Escondido residents
Wow.
only.
Wow, that's incredible. Wow. Okay. I wasn't sure if that was Escondido only, but that is so high. Wow. Well, I support the amendments that you've made, the substantial amendments. I do agree that I would love to have more money for the tenant, the rental assistance. We have to do some federal advocacy to change the formula for the first-time buyer program to make it actually feasible for people because of the high cost of housing. So my question is regarding the mayor's proposal to change that. Would that change the amount? Would that decrease the amount of the rental subsidy if we increase the percentage? That would be my only concern.
That's a great question.
Because it sounds like it probably would take money away from
So
that, and I
I'm going to
wouldn't wanna do
go
that.
to the summary slide. The way that we're modeling the budget moving forward, majority of the funding is being set aside for the rental subsidy program. So as you can see in this scenario, we're left with $54,000. That would
Right.
mean 2 first-time home buyer loans per year.
Okay. So, but if we were to increase the percentage, does that change the amounts?
It wouldn't change, I don't think it would change the amount of the loan. It would just, we may get more applications.
Okay.
And the way that we've modeled this, we're limiting how many loans we'd be able to process.
Right, because we're decreasing that fund significantly. But historically, we haven't had not even an
Correct.
average of one a year.
Historically,
so-
we have 1 or 2 a
Right.
year. And just as
Yeah.
a reminder,
It's been
we
zero
do-
for most of the years until
Yeah.
recently, by the way.
We do revisit the action plan every year. So if something was to change, we have an opportunity every year to make amendments.
Okay, so I'm open to exploring the percentage. I don't know how that impacts funding, but I wouldn't want to lower the rental subsidy amount of 388,000. And I know that we're going to have a future conversation that may add to that pot.
So as proposed, it would not. There are two discrete funds. The first-time home buyer would be only eligible for the 54. So what it would do is limit the number of applicants that we can process. But as has been pointed out, we don't have any applicants right now, or very few applicants. So it would not hit the published form would go, for rental subsidy would take up the lion's share of the dollars, and those would be discreetly handled. So just like anything, both these pots are limited, and when they run out, they run out. We would report back next year on what would happen with each of these funding sources. Well, of course, we'll monitor during the year, and if we see anything that needs to be adjusted, we will bring forward to council. But that would tie up the entire funding source at that point.
Got it. Well, I support the staff recommendations, and if we want to, and I'm open to changing the percentage for the first-time home buyer, but I don't know that we have those specifics right now.
No, so are you also open to increasing the amount of assets somebody can own and still to qualify?
What do you mean amount of assets?
So right now, in order to qualify, you can't have any assets over $25,000. But if somebody owns their used car, it could be worth $25,000 and kick them out of the program automatically.
Got it. I'm not sure about that one. I'm not sure. I'd be open to looking at that.
This doesn't have to be decided tonight, right? We could have some options come back for both the asset portion and the percentage on the loan?
That's correct. So this
Perfect.
is just the first public hearing, introducing the idea, and then we can go back and do some more work. And at the second public hearing, we can iron out those details.
Okay, and I'd like to know if there's any other first-time home buyers that have higher asset permissions, for some examples.
Yeah, okay, you bring up another question. The assets over $25,000, is that applicable to both the rental subsidy and the home buyer
No,
program?
just-
No, just the first-time home buyer program.
Just first-time home buyer, okay. Yeah, great question.
And I'm wondering, have we ever turned away anyone because they have assets over 25,000? Is that really necessary? Like, I'm wondering if that's even been a challenge that we need to address, or is there someone that has not been able to apply because they had an asset over 25,000, right?
I know that people have applied and been denied, but I can't tell you the level of detail on what
Okay.
that denial was for.
Okay, yeah.
And if I could add one more thing, with inflation the last 2 years.
I know cars are expensive,
Yeah.
yes. So, okay, well, so I'm open to looking at that.
Perfect, thank you. Councilman? Deputy Mayor, sorry.
So a number of the questions that have been asked and receiving the answer, I've received the answer that I noticed that I was looking for, and I never thought that those 5,000 were from Escondido. That's mind-boggling to me. And I remember a number of years ago when I began raising this issue that we needed to increase the funds. I think our rental subsidy was around $20,000 or something like that had been like that for years. So I'm in support, and I am very thankful that we've been able to work this out. The community has come out, and they have made their comments, they've expressed their ideas, and we're seeing these changes happen. So thank you for that. I had an opportunity to speak to a number of real estate professionals, and they once again told me that even small amounts are helpful when somebody's buying a home. But I do have a question: traditional home versus mobile homes, where you buy a mobile home but you don't own the property, can they still apply for first-time buyer assistance?
I will find out for you. I don't want to misspeak. I think so, but I'm not sure. I'll find out and follow up.
Please. Okay. Thank you. and thank you. I'm excited and in support of this amendment.
All right. So is that good enough direction?
Yes.
I know what to come back with? Perfect. Okay, thank you. We'll move on. We're actually going to backtrack. We're going to go to presentations. And I thought I saw Yusuf here. Yeah, proclamation, sorry. He was. Where'd he go?
Would you like me to message him to come back in the room? I
Yeah.
think he might have stepped outside.
Unless he wants to wait another 30 minutes.
I told him it was going to be the end of the meeting because I didn't know if you'd want the.
Oh, we can get him in and out real quick.
Do you want to go through? He might still be outside. Do you want to go through your next item and then wait? Because I don't want you to have to wait for him unless he's. If
The
you see
next
him.
one's going to be long.
I know. Yeah. I messaged him. I think he might be speaking at a rally outside or something to that
Oh.
extent. So I don't know definitively how quickly he can come in.
We'll give it a minute.
All right.
We're going to jump to item 12 real quick, which is the appointment of ad hoc subcommittee members on fireworks. And I was nominating myself and Councilwoman Martinez.
We have one speaker on this item. There's Greg Oliver.
Good evening, Council. I understand that you're creating a subcommittee and that on the subject of illegal fireworks and the enforcement thereof. And there are no committee members from the general public, even though the general public was instrumental in initiating this action. In doing so, the people that I know, the citizens group from Escondido Fights Illegal Fireworks and the folks from the Escondido Fire Safe Council made connections and performed exhaustive research and, in general, developed strong expertise and insight regarding successful applications that have been implemented, as well as pitfalls to other processes. I would urge you to reconsider adding those motivated and capable residents to the subcommittee. And if you are still reluctant, then I urge you to let them help and share their expertise with you to help inform your progress and a mutually satisfactory conclusion.
No further comments on this item.
Okay. Before I make the motion, I'll just say, subcommittees don't have like spots for appointments for members of the public, but in this particular case, I have been in direct contact with Heather, and we've been working very closely, and we will make sure the Fire Safe Council and her group are a part of that for sure. Thank you. Absolutely. I'll make the motion to approve it.
I'll second and I'd be happy to serve. Thank you.
Yeah, I should have asked you, sorry. All right, a motion and second, please vote.
Voting is open. Motion approved, 5-0.
All right, at this point, we got to move on, huh? All
Yes.
right.
There's a vigil outside right now. He's attending it.
Okay. We'll move on to item 9, which is the Maple Downtown Specific Plan Amendments, Development Agreement, Plan Development Permit, and Design Review Permit. And I'll open the public hearing and turn it over to staff.
Thank you, Mayor and Deputy Mayor, and good evening, council members. For the record, Ivan Flores, Principal Planner with the Planning Services. And I will be presenting on item 9, which is a request by Kings Barn Realty to construct 128 multifamily units at 137 West Valley Parkway. Given the multiple components of this project, staff has provided a brief breakdown on what the discussion topics will be before this council this evening. We'll provide a general background on the site itself, the previous application process that was proposed here in 2019, the specific plan amendments to amend the downtown specific plan, a development agreement with certain terms and benefits, a plan development permit, design and review permit, the environmental review that the city conducted, and public comment that was received prior to the public hearing. The project site is located at 137 West Valley Parkway, which is currently developed with an existing public parking lot, which provides 118 off-street parking spaces. This item was an item that was continued from the December 17, 2025 meeting. The site's approximately 1.04 acres in size and is 0.4 miles east of the North County Transit Center district, North County Transit Center. Based on its proximity to the North County Transit Center, the applicant is eligible for AB 2097, which is a state law that prohibits a local agency from requiring minimum parking requirements. Based on this, the applicant has opted to provide 113 parking spaces, and we'll discuss that in detail further in the presentation. The project is located within the downtown specific plan. Specifically, it's located in the historic district. The downtown specific plan is envisioned as a dynamic, attractive, and economically vital center of the city. This site is the site of a previous proposal from 2019, which was known as Aspire. Kings Barn is the third iteration of development on this project site. A public hearing was held on November 18, 2025, and for the Planning Commission vote. The Planning Commission voted 4-0 to recommend approval of the project. Prior to the Planning Commission hearing, no public comment was received or provided at the public hearing. These are the requested entitlements before the council this evening. A specific plan amendment, sorry, a specific plan amendment to amend regulations within the downtown specific plan, a development agreement for certain terms and benefits, which we'll discuss in detail later, a plan development permit to allow for ground floor residential uses, dependent on the approval of the specific plan amendment, and for tandem spaces. Additionally, it includes the environmental determination and a design and review permit for construction of the actual building itself. On the left slide, you see the existing specific plan, which indicates that ground floor retail or office is required on this site with residential permitted above. The applicant requests an amendment to the downtown specific plan to allow for ground floor residential uses through the plan development permit process. This is an existing allowance that is allowed throughout the downtown specific plan, which is indicated through the hashed mark shown on the left site plan map. Additionally, the applicant requests a specific plan amendment to allow for an increase in height. Currently, the maximum height is 60 feet and 4 stories, while the applicant is proposing a 65-foot height maximum with 5 stories. The building's ultimate height will be approximately 61 feet, so it will not reach that maximum that's requested. As detailed in the development agreement, the applicant is requesting to participate in the density transfer program, which is allowed in the downtown specific plan. Essentially, this will allow for a transfer of 50 units from this downtown density credit pool to the project site to allow up to 128 units. The base density is approximately 78 units. An open space reduction to reduce the required amount of open space, and we'll show that on the next slide. Consistent with the downtown specific plan, the applicant will pay an in lieu fee of approximately $109,827, and that's enshrined in the development agreement. Furthermore, to demonstrate consistency with the climate action plan, the applicant will pay $34,450 to be used for tree plantings in the downtown area. And all these fees would be collected prior to the issuance of a building permit. Additionally, the applicant will make minor modifications to Maple Plaza, which include the removal of several features and relocation of the trellis to the west by several feet and an encroachment into the plaza. Additionally, the applicant will provide public art on the eastern elevation, which I'll provide in a few slides. As stated earlier, the downtown specific plan does allow for reductions up to 50% of a required open space for a project. Planning staff reviewed this request and historical requests that we received over the last several years for this reduction. It's become apparent that the open space requirement tends to be an impediment for projects that propose up to 70 dwelling units per acre. The applicant is required to provide 38,400 square feet and will be providing 24,900 square feet. Here we see the grayed out area, which consists of an indoor recreation room, outdoor private areas, and balconies along the project's frontage. Here we see a typical floor plan. This is from the second floor leading up to the fifth floor. The first floor is obviously going to be a parking garage that will provide 113 parking stalls in addition to lobby areas and a leasing office. The top photo is the north elevation. So this is if you're looking at it across West Valley Parkway from City Hall. The primary entrance will be located at the corner of Maple Street Plaza and West Valley Parkway, which is furthest to the west here, with an additional pedestrian entrance on West Valley Parkway located towards the center, and a driveway, which is shown here to the east, driveway entrance. On the south, we are looking at the view from the alleyway. The applicant has indicated that they are looking to participate in the Public Art Alley program that's administered. Here we see that the building is approximately 61 feet in height with several elevator shafts in excess of that 65-foot height limit. However, as allowed by the zoning code, those elevator shafts are permitted to exceed the height limit of the underlying zoning district. Here we see the east elevation, which faces the vacant commercial building adjacent at the corner of West Valley Parkway and Broadway. This is the approximate location of the public art that the applicant is also looking to provide as a part of their development. Here on the west elevation, we see this is the view from Maple Street Plaza. As you can see, primary access will be provided on this side, which you can see the entrance right here, adjacent to West Valley Parkway. These screening features are intended to screen the parking garage on the first floor, and additional landscaping will be provided to screen those parking areas. Pursuant to the CEQA guidelines, California Environmental Quality Act guidelines, city staff reviewed the project and determined that the general plan EIR and downtown specific plan EIR covered any potential significant impacts caused by the project, and an addendum was prepared to document those changes. The 3 public comments were received prior to the December 17th, 2025 public hearing. Sorry for the typo. Those general issues were related to the specific plan amendment request and whether it was appropriate, the loss of public parking, and questions regarding the CAP checklists. And these are in addition to the public comments that were forwarded by the city clerk's office. The recommended actions is that the City Council adopt ordinance 2026-02 and resolution number 2026-12 approving the project subject to the conditions of approval. That'll conclude staff's presentation, and we are available for any questions, and the applicant is also here. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the applicant, do you have a presentation or comments?
Yes.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Dave Ferguson, representing Kingsbarn Realty, the applicant. With me tonight is the Chief Investment Officer of Kingsbarn, Phil Mader, and the Project Manager, John Stack. Also with me tonight is Vincent Mudd and Jason Mon of Steinberg Hart Architects, who did the architecture on the building. Kelly Drews and Jessica Salgado of Rick Engineering, who did the engineering. Lori Spar from Recon, who did the environmental review, and Daniel Garcia from Walker Consultants, who did the parking study. And so my goal tonight is just give you a bit of an overview and then have the team available to answer your technical questions. I'd like to jump right into maybe some pictures of the building. Unfortunately, the engineering drawings in the staff report make this look like something out of the Soviet era. That was definitely not the intention for this building. What you see on your screen is what you would see if you were standing right in front of City Hall in the circular driveway looking across the street. And what you see on that corner is that's going to be a piece of public art that we're going to work with the Public Art Commission and commission an artist to do that mural. We're told that it's too early to pick one because the artist may be busy by the time we get ready to do the building, but as we get closer, we will be working with the city's Public Art Commission to pick an appropriate artistic piece for that corner. Further, we're going to be enrolled in the alley art program, and as you can see there, we're going to wrap the entire bottom of the building in that art as well. As we go down, this would be sort of, if you're looking back at the building from the parking lot in the back of City Hall. What they try to do is pick up elements from City Hall. You'll see the arches that have the green lattice work. Also, to break up the mass and scale of the building, they put in 3 breezeways, so it appears to be more like 3 separate buildings with the breaks in between, each one being a bit different. Here's the corner looking back toward Maple Plaza with the entrance right there in the corner. There's a more close-up of the entrance to the building. I'll come back to that in a minute. This is if you're in Maple Plaza. This is over here if you're in Grand, looking down through Maple Plaza. You can again see that effort to make it look like 3 separate buildings rather than just one big massive building there, and each one being slightly different. And this would be the alleyway, except that whole section will be part of the alley art program, so that bottom part would be decorated with art. Parking structure, as Mr. Flores pointed out, under state law, they're not required to provide any parking, but we've tried to put as many parking spaces as possible because we've only got the bottom floor to do it. And so even with the lobby and the elevator shafts and other things, we have managed to get 115 spaces in there. We would put more if we could, but that's the most that's physically possible given the space. That's only 3 less than what's in the surface parking lot, which doesn't have elevator shafts, lobbies, and so forth. The floor plans, they're providing all the amenities they can for a high-class building. As you'll see, we have not only lobbies and business centers, but a bicycle storage room, a room separated for Amazon and package deliveries, since that's what's required today. On the floor above, there are 2 big open spaces. One will be more active with the pool and the spa. The other will be more passive with areas to relax. We'll have a gourmet kitchen. Instead of just a dog run, this will have a pet spa. And I'll get to the reason for all of this in a moment. And let me stop there. And before this is, of course, the elephant in the room, the parking. But let me just stop for a moment and discuss the big picture with you a bit. When I got to Escondido, one of my first things in the 1980s, or 1982, I chaired the city's Downtown Revitalization Commission. You actually had one back in those days. And we struggled with the issue. We wanted to support the businesses. We wanted more restaurants and shops downtown, but to get them, we needed more customers. And then to get more customers to come downtown, we needed more shops and restaurants. And we were faced with this chicken and egg situation. What comes first, the attraction or the people? And you can't have the attractions without the people to support them, and you can't get the people unless you have the attractions. And the city has invested a lot of money since that time redoing Grand Avenue and several times, the facade program and subsidies. And nevertheless, that basic quandary has remained. In 2012, when the city adopted its new downtown specific plan, the decision was made to try to prime the pump by zoning the parcels downtown at 100 units to acre, and we would bring the people in, and that would prime the pump then to support businesses and get the thing going. And it was a good idea, but in the 14 years since, no one has been able to successfully build a 100-unit market rate project in downtown Escondido. And the problem is that the economics just don't work, because when you go to that dense a project, the construction costs are very high. And now with the increased interest rates, the financial costs are equally as high. And the rents in Escondido have just not made it possible to do that kind of project. It pushes, to make that work, you need to push the rents to the upper threes, $4 a square foot, which Escondido has just not been able to support. One project was approved, the Ivy. That was 100 acres, 100 units. Despite all their best efforts through Cushman Wakefield, they could never find anybody who would buy it and build it, so it was entitled, the entitlements expired without ever having been built. This project, however, we finally have a chance to pull it off and put in the mid-rise market rate upper end project to support a downtown revitalization. And there's a couple of unique factors that have come together to make that possible. One is this is the last piece of public property in all of California that can be sold without offering it first to low-income developers. The Surplus Lands Act was passed a number of years ago, but this project, because of an underlying lawsuit, was exempted, and it's still exempt, and that window is open for a little while longer, and so this city has an opportunity to sell this directly to a developer for whatever the city decides it would like to see there. And so this is kind of the last chance in California to do that. The other is that this property is in an opportunity zone. And what that means is that if this property is held for 10 years or more, all capital gains will be waived by the federal government. And that finally makes the finances of a project like this work, because we also have a unique developer, Kingsbarn, and that Kingsbarn's model is they just don't get things entitled and then flip them to some builder. They build them, they keep them, and they operate them for 10 years or more. So they can take advantage of the fact that this is in an opportunity zone. They can do this project without paying capital gains taxes, and therefore they can make this work financially, even though the rents, it's very difficult to get the kind of rents that it would require. So the fact that we have an exemption from the Surplus Lands Act, that we have this in an opportunity zone, and we found a developer whose model takes advantage of the opportunity zone, we finally have the opportunity to build a 128 unit per acre project downtown that will provide the anchor and the financial boost that we hope will prime the pump and really boost the revitalization of our downtown by providing the shoppers and the disposable income to support the shops and restaurants we need. The rents on this building, it's going to be the highest in all of Escondido. We're looking up into the $4 per square foot. But if we can make that work, that's going to put a lot of families, I mean, to qualify, I think you're probably looking at a minimum 120 AMI to qualify to live in this building. So that puts a lot of people with disposable income within walking distance of all of our shops on Grand Avenue. The big issue, of course, is the parking. There's been a lot of parking studies done. When I mentioned my experience in the 1980s, I went and looked, and I found a parking study that was done in 1984 by the Arroyo Group. This is a group that had done the successful downtown revitalization for Pasadena. So the city of Escondido hired them to come up with a plan for downtown Escondido, and the first thing they did, of course, was a parking study.
And Mr. Ferguson, while you review that, I just want to let you know we've hit the 10-minute mark, but Mr. Mayor, you're able to extend the time for the speaker to provide more context.
I think we're all anxious to hear what you have to say about
Perfect.
parking.
Just want to let you know. All right.
Okay,
Great. Thank you, Mr. Ferguson.
I'll try to wrap this up then. They went out every hour from 8:30 to 4:30 on weekdays and weekends, and they did a complete study, and they turned it into the city in 1984, which found that there was 49% vacancy in peak hours in downtown Escondido, and that there was sufficient parking in fact, there was a surplus of parking. And every parking study that has been done ever since in Escondido has come up with the same results. In fact, let me go. This is the Walker study. These are the blocks they studied. Every block there that's in green, they found was parked at less than 50%. The yellows were, and we can see it there for yourself. And so they found that basically there were nearly 1,500 spaces available at the peak hour of 1 p.m. And that only 42% of these spaces in downtown were occupied at peak hour. And you can question, okay, well, Walker, maybe they're just doing this for the developer. This is the same as every study by every consultant going back to 1984 has come up with this same result. So the conclusion is that there is plenty of parking downtown and that what is needed for a successful downtown revitalization is not more parking. What's needed is more customers with disposable income in their pockets. And that's what this project is designed to bring and what's designed to do. So let me just turn this over very briefly to Mr. Mader so you can meet the man who's actually going to do this for you. And then we're available for any questions you may have.
Thank you. We're going to move on to public comments. Oh, sorry. Yeah, you just said that. You got me thinking about all the parking downtown.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. I'm Phil Mader, and I'm the president of Kings Barn, and we are the project applicant. I would just like to say a few things. David did an excellent job summarizing the project. We are very excited being long-term owners of multifamily apartments here in Escondido. We think it's a fabulous opportunity for us to create 128 market rate apartments in the core of downtown, and which will generate approximately 200 plus people that will be shopping and spending money in downtown, and we really think it will be a great integral part of continuing to build out the downtown. We're pleased to be here, and me along with the rest of our consultant team, we're here to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we'll go on to public comments.
Thank you, council members, for the chance to speak. This is definitely an opportunity zone that you guys look like, and it sounds like you're going to destroy. You're taking a parking lot, all you have to do is look out your front door and look at how full that parking lot is at all times. If you're going to build the building, have this developer go down one story and add another 100 plus and make those public parking spots. And if that doesn't work out for them and their time expires, we'd be more than happy to buy the lot and make it, I'm with Felipe's Pizza Grotto, and we would love to make it an open public parking and pay for it. And I'm really kind of dumbfounded that this same developer has a project of 501 units, and it's been available for over a year, and they're at less than 40% occupancy. So what do you need, another 35 or 40% unoccupied? I mean, this is, we're really kind of blown away. You talk about starting a downtown business association which I'm very, very familiar with. I sit on the board for the Little Italy Business Association, and you can see how it can be done. We have a 27-story and a 24-story building going in, and both of those projects have public parking. The spaces that were taken to build, when they built that property, they have to put public parking back in. We closed a street called Date Street. We built a park, called the De Familia. It's a piazza. And it's exactly the same thing. The developer had to put parking in that he offset. Now, these 1,500 parking spots that are magical, invisible things that we're talking about, their project's going to put probably another 40 or 50 cars out of their project onto the street. So, I mean, you guys, we've been here since 1972. There's plenty of business in downtown, and we do very, very well here. But if you take our parking away with your new thing that you took our tree that was in front of our building that had shade and never asked us about in your redevelopment, it's time that you guys start listening to the businesses that are here and have been here since before you guys were even born. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Carol Rogers.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I am speaking first as a representative of the Escondido Downtown Business Association. Our board has prepared a statement. Dear Mayor and City Council members, on behalf of the Escondido Downtown Business Association, we're writing to share the board's perspective on the proposed Maple project and its potential role in the continued revitalization of downtown Escondido. The Kings Barn project, the Kings Barn plan is well aligned with the city's Grand Avenue Vision project, which seeks to transform Grand Avenue into a welcoming, pedestrian-friendly corridor and strengthen the economic vitality of downtown. The project reflects a long-term commitment to investing in the heart of Escondido. The DBA board recognizes that many legal and regulatory conditions exist that may limit the city's options to the development of Parking Lot 1. Given these constraints, and after careful review and consideration of the project and Kings Barn's community outreach, the Escondido Downtown Business Association Board views the proposed Maple project favorably and considers it a net positive in the downtown area. The project's scale, design, and architectural approach complement our historic downtown and support shared goals of creating a more livable, walkable, and prosperous district for residents, visitors, and businesses. Thank you for your consideration. And then if I could just for one moment put my art hat on. One of the things that has been very encouraging in our conversations with the Kings Barn group is they're not just building a project, they're working to understand who we are as a community, and they recognize that art is very high in our priorities. You're looking at very large murals on that project, but I think one of the coolest things they're talking about, they want to involve Esco art from the very beginning. They want to have art on the construction site. While it's under construction, they want it to have a visual appeal. They are discussing involving kids, school groups, in doing art projects to do beautification. This feels like the right fit to me. This feels like a group that wants to invest in our community. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Richard Garner.
Good evening, City Council, Mayor. I'm here to speak against it. In part, its origin seems suspect. If you review the Escondido Times Advocate back in 2018, the gang that brought us the destruction of the library in East Valley Parkway was in power, and they sold a public asset at that time. And Olga Diaz said, well, this seems an odd way of going about business, and voted no. Somebody, let's see, Morosco abstained, and it was approved 3-1. I still think the project is suspect. I don't believe the parking is valid, the parking study, because I come to downtown at least once for what's happening? Oh, I'm hearing it. I guess you can. Oh, great. I have my hearing aids. That's maybe the problem. Okay, let's start again. I don't like the project. Did you hear that? Okay, great. If we go back, 2018, it was suspect then. Olga Diaz questioned how it came about. I don't believe a public good should be sold for nothing. I feel like this is. We're not getting enough public asset from it. Also, the businesses have been disrupted by pandemic, the redesign of Grand, and now they get this. I would be upset if I was a business owner. I don't think there's enough mitigation to help the businesses thrive. There's a bunch of vacant spaces on Grand forever. And we don't need super rich people to make Grand a place for everybody, right? So if you have to vote for it because of some legal thing, there's a mention in the proposal about a settlement, which I haven't heard talked about. Yeah, vote for it. But you need to do some mitigation for the businesses. If you don't, well, good luck in winning any new election. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ashley Strassman.
Hello. All right. Hi. Thank you so much for letting me speak today. City Council members, I stand here before you today representing Felipe's Pizza Grotto as well in opposition of this plan. Sure. We are a local business that has been part of this community for 55 years this coming September, and our restaurant has served this community for more than 5 decades and have supported local families, employed residents, and consistently given back through community donations, sponsorships, and participation in local events. We have been part of this neighborhood and relied on that parking lot for the full 55 years that we've been in business there. The proposed sale of this parking lot directly threatens not only our business, but the many surrounding businesses along Grand Avenue and throughout the area that depends on it for customer access, employee parking, and community functions. This parking lot is absolutely vital to our local businesses and the broader community. At least 95% of our patrons rely on this lot, including customers visiting multiple businesses on Grand Avenue, as well as the Art Center here on Valley Parkway. Removing this parking lot would severely limit access for our guests and would be detrimental not only to our business, but to every business operating in this corridor. The alternative parking lot being suggested is simply not feasible. It is too far away and presents significant safety concerns, particularly for elderly customers, families with young children, and the individuals with mobility challenges. With the recent roundabout installed on Grand Avenue, there are currently no crosswalks or traffic signals to allow for safe crossing, and expecting our patrons to navigate this environment places them at an unnecessary risk. Additionally, this parking lot is heavily used during many city-hosted events on Grand Avenue. It serves as a central access point that supports foot traffic, local commerce, and community engagement. The lot behind our business on Valley Parkway is already consistently full with no excess capacity on any given day. I would also ask why the city is not considering development on the abandoned parking lot located at the corner of Orange Avenue and Valley Park. That lot is rarely used by the public and is frequently overrun by transients, yet it appears to be a more appropriate option for the redevelopment than removing a parking resource that is in constant use. Eliminating this parking lot in favor of an apartment development would be extremely damaging to the businesses you are meant to support. It would effectively push customers away by making access difficult, unsafe, or completely impossible. Building housing at the expense of a fundamental community necessity is not progress. It is a decision that could have catastrophic consequences for Grand Avenue's business district. We did submit yesterday to the county clerk's office over 120 signatures, and if the petition signatures already submitted are not sufficient to demonstrate public concern, I urged for you to engage directly with the community and local business owners. I am confident you will find overwhelming opposition to the loss of this parking lot. Eliminating this parking lot
Your time has expired. I'm so
okay.
sorry.
No, that's okay. Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Tracy Bass. Tracy Bass.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I have a couple questions before I start my time. The land, the parking lot, how much did you sell that to the developer for?
We can't really have dialogue with you through public comment, but I'll answer your questions.
Okay.
You can just spit them out.
How much did you sell that for, that piece of land? And did you get 3 quotes from commercial people on what the value of that land is? The last time they did this proposal, the city was giving them the land. So I was wondering, is that still in this proposal? So they're actually selling the land. Last time they gave you this proposal, they had cut all of their fees, building fees. Is that also happening this time? Are they cutting all the fees or giving them great deals on the fees? Because, I feel so sorry for these developers because, interest rates have gone up and, they can't make money by doing the 80 units that's supposed to be on that lot. They have to expand it to 128 units. So, you have to feel sorry for the big developer guy because he can't make enough money trying to stay within the guidelines that the city has set on this property. Like you said, he already built another property and it's not only half full. So we're going to have all this construction, lose the parking lot, lose a lot of business because of that, and then only have a half full because he's going to make, these high-rise apartments that are going to be high cost because there's so many people, wealthy people I know, that want to move downtown Escondido on Valley Parkway, the busy little Valley Parkway, which from the last analysis, the Valley Parkway is not going to have any problems whatsoever with traffic, even though you're adding another 200 cars to the street. So the whole thing is that the city, I feel like they're bending over and giving everything to the poor developer. Not 80 units, not 4 stories, taking over Maple, which is, when they had this last time, Maple had just started and it was kind of like, okay, well, whatever, Maple's not really plaza, it's not very, now it's used all the time. People meet there all the time. Every weekend it's full, every evening it's full, and every time you have any kind of thing on Grand Avenue, it's full. Christmas time, it was full. I mean, you're gonna take that away. No, we're not gonna take it away, we're gonna make it smaller. Again, that's public property that that we public love. And I think the public is the ones that paid for that whole thing through some kind of a grant. And then you're taking it away without giving the public, I think you guys, before you sell stuff and take stuff away from us, you should come and ask us. And I guess there was some kind of a meeting prior that I didn't know about. So I'm so thankful for you being on Facebook and talking about this. That's how I heard about coming tonight, because it's kind of hush-hush, I think, with some of these projects that you put through, because most of us probably don't like them. So you can see that I am against this project. We don't need more apartment buildings, period, in Escondido. We definitely don't need one downtown. There's apartment buildings all over where people can walk, downtown and utilize our services that we have.
Ms. Bass, your time has expired. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Please vote no.
Our next speaker is Tammy Beverson.
I do want to clarify real quick, since two comments have been made. This is not the same developer as Marlowe or Palomar Heights.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me speak, Mayor White, City Council. I'm not a resident of Escondido. I'm an employee in Escondido. I work for Tom and Joanne Sullivan, who own Totally Bamboo and purchased 120 West Grand in 2021, and we are still not moved in fully. I am one of the employees that comes and goes daily, and I can tell you that your city employees use this very parking lot. And by 8 or 9 a.m., there is no available spots in that parking lot for even some of our employees. So to get rid of that parking lot, you're also putting your city employees at a disadvantage. Sometimes I'm here in the morning before it's daylight. Sometimes I'm here in the evening, still when it's dark as well, both sides of the spectrum, and the homelessness is an issue. Bringing wealthy condominiums or apartment complexes to downtown Escondido isn't going to resolve the homeless population either. And not having a safe place to park in comparison to where our building is a problem. I've had to ask people to leave the back doorstep of our building. I've had another employee that's been accosted on the front side of Grand Avenue. We cannot be asked to park a ways away and walk from the bus station or Maple or wherever that's going to be. I wasn't even going to speak tonight until I heard they're putting in less parking spaces than there is apartments. So we're already at a disadvantage. So just with that being said, just for pure safety reasons, not having enough public park, there's not even handicapped parking spaces on Grand Avenue now. So if you take the parking lot away, where are disabled people going to park that are going to use, whether it's employees or customers, going to get to those businesses on Grand Avenue? It's a problem, and the parking needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Richard Cannon.
Hi again. I'm going to take a position that's probably not going to be very popular with a lot of other people here that I would otherwise usually agree with. But the single largest problem that people in California have, aside from climate change, is the extremely exorbitant cost of housing. And there are two ways that you can address the cost of housing. You can decrease demand by making a place less likely to be livable, but California is great, it's beautiful, I love living here in Escondido. Or you can increase the supply of housing. California has already passed a number of bills that require cities to put together plans to increase the amount of available units. For Escondido cycle from 2021 to 2029, it looks like that's about 9,600 units. However, we're only about 1,500 units completed to that today. So there's a lot of considerations around, how much affordable housing is this particular one going to have? Is there some handicap parking outside? There's a lot of considerations there. But in general, we need to be building a lot of housing, millions of units in this state, thousands of units in Escondido itself. So maybe there's some considerations around what percentage of this is going to be affordable. But even if you have units that are higher in higher cost of housing, people, if those units are not available, typically what they do, it's called filtering. They will move into a less expensive housing complex and push people out who would normally be trying to apply for those. So in general, we need more housing. We need denser housing. We need housing that's closer to shops and restaurants. So even if there are some considerations around parking to consider, I believe that the need to have more additional housing vastly outweighs that. So definitely, as you're doing these, it's important to have RFPs for, affordable housing, things of that nature. But in general, having a comment to be in favor of having larger 4 over 5 apartment buildings like this, because we need housing, we need supply, and that's what really will help drive down the cost of housing or help prevent it increasing faster in the future. Thank you.
You can just go up and yeah. One final speaker on this item.
Hi again. Love you, Richard, but housing is not like French fries, so it does not, increasing the supply isn't necessarily going to bring down your pricing, especially when we treat housing like an investment. And honestly, hearing that they're not going to have to pay capital gains tax doesn't make me more in favor of this project at all. I have to pay my taxes. I would assume that investors should pay theirs also and contribute. And also, so my ask would be, if in the future, when you're selling the public lands, yes, transparency would be great, but also to ask for a request for proposals from developers that will pay you market price and also have experience in providing affordable housing. Because those 5,000 Escondido residents that are waiting on the Section 8 waiting list need a place to live. Some of those people are already on the street. We see them. That's all I have to say. I would really hope that in the future you would take requests from proposals from developers that have experience navigating what needs to be done to provide affordable housing. They can stack funding from the state and the loans, different things. They know how to do that, and there's developers locally that can do that. Thank you.
No further public comments.
Good to go. Well, thank you for the presentation. Thank you for everybody who spoke. I do have a couple questions. I was hoping that maybe the developer could come speak, and their representative as well. One of the things that I've been doing the last week is trying to get information out as much as possible to the public, and for the sake of transparency, as was mentioned. One of the things that I really wanted to talk about, what I've been speaking about, is state laws. Just for brevity and for education, can we kind of get one of the things that we talked about was this being 0.4 miles away from a public transit, and that was highlighted for a reason. Would you be able to educate us on why that's important, that distance?
Yeah, I have the exact statute here. I can read it to you.
And this ties into, I think, what you said, Mr. Ferguson, regarding how parking is not necessary, not required, but they're putting it anyway. So I just want to give everybody the opportunity to speak to that.
Yes, basically, California Government Code Section 65863.2, AB 2907, as Mr. Flores referred to it as, states, a public agency shall not impose or enforce any minimum automobile parking requirement on a residential, commercial, or other development project if the project is located within 1/2 mile of public transit. So it basically makes it illegal for the city to require any parking at all for this project. Now, they're putting in 115 anyway, because in order to track the tenants they need all the parking they can get. We have made inquiries with both the city and private interest. We're looking to lease other parking in the downtown area because we want all the parking we can get. But we've got 1.03 acres and there's only so much parking you can put on it. We've maxed it out. So we would like more parking, but from a legal standpoint, the city is forbidden by the state from requiring any parking. So I guess from a legal standpoint, where we have 115 more spaces than is required, from a practical standpoint, if anyone has spaces they'd like to lease us, we'd like to talk to you.
Okay, thank you. One of the other things too is that we talked about the sale of the property. I know that there was mention of a certain amount of money that was going to a certain district. Can somebody, like parking district or traffic district, can anybody speak to that, please?
I'd be happy to. The source of the money that was used to purchase this property back in the early 60s to form a vehicle parking district, now we are going to, as part of, if the council approves the project, any sale proceeds, and to answer a question from the audience, The sale price for the property is $1.815 million. Any funds that we receive as part of the project or the sale of the property will now be required to be reinvested in parking. So that's part of the 1943 Vehicle Parking District Act. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much. And I know that was a concern that people had and where those funds would be going to, so I do appreciate that. I think those are the questions that I have for you, Mr. Ferguson. And
I
for the
could
city
also
attorney.
clarify the question about was the city ever going to give this property away and waive all of its fees?
I wasn't going to put you on the spot, but yes, I do. That would be great if you could answer that as
Two
well.
proposals ago, the proposal was the developer was going to build a 3-story parking garage on Maple Avenue. In return, the city would give them this property and waive all of their fees in return for the $5 million parking structure. However, the city then did a parking study and decided they did not want to spend $5 million curing a problem that doesn't exist. So they said, no, pay us full fair market value for the property and pay all of your full fees, and we'll figure out what to do with the $5 million.
And what year was that? Sorry.
That was about 2017.
Thank you.
So basically, the decision was made is the city will be collecting around $5 million that will be at your discretion to spend how you want. Although, as the city attorney points out, 1.8 of it will have to be on parking. But the balance you can spend any way you want.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I have a couple questions for the developers, if you'd be so kind to entertain me. We talked a little bit about what kind of apartments we're expecting to see and kind of the demographic that we're aiming to attract. Can you kind of give an idea, a brief of what is the economic impact that we're expecting to see based off the disposable income that we're expecting from the tenants that are going to be there?
Yes. So first of all, these are studios, 1-bedrooms and 2-bedroom units. Generally, these are young professionals or people that don't have full families and lots of kids or anything. That's not the environment. Usually it's one person per unit in a studio. Sometimes in the 1-bedrooms there could be 1 or 2 people, and in a 2-bedroom we often see 2 people. It'll generate approximately about 200 people. Then we expect that one of the intrigues of wanting to live in downtown Escondido is the walkability and being able to come home from work and being able to walk down Grand, go to your favorite restaurant, your bar, whatever it may be, the festivals, the events. So those discretionary dollars they're going to be spending is really significant. And being able to have downtown capture that. So I think that's first and foremost. First of all, there's 0 property tax that's generated off the subject property now. Once the project is built, in excess of $600,000 annually will be generated in property taxes. And then also we'll be paying fees in excess of $3 million, which go to the city, the school district, fire, public works, et cetera. So those are some of the economic benefits that come with this project. But I think attracting people, the discretionary dollars that will be living here and want to spend in Escondido in revitalizing and helping the downtown grow is really paramount.
Thank you. I have 2 more questions. When we had first spoken, I know that we had talked about having some commercial space in the first floor. Later, when we followed up, I guess that's not going to happen anymore, and you gave the reason, but for the public's sake, could you provide reason to why we're not going to be putting commercial space on the first floor anymore?
Right. So we did think at one point we'd put some commercial space on the first floor, such as a coffee shop and stuff. When we really got into it and analyzing it, we're just going to be cannibalizing the retail space that's already on Grand. And why take away from existing businesses? I think it's more important for the people that live in this apartment community to spend their money on existing businesses instead of trying to create, another coffee shop or something like that. So when looking at it, we think that's the best use, is providing a place for people to live, but just creating more ground floor retail, I don't think is going to be additive.
Thank you. And then one last thing is, one of the things that I always talk to whenever I speak with any developer is the consideration of density bonuses or attainable housing. Was that something that we looked into as well?
Yeah, so in the building's 128 units, it's 5 stories, it's type 5 construction. So when building the building like this, there's kind of this law of diminishing returns, right? So up to 5 stories, we can be in type 5 construction. Once we go over that, we're going to go into type 3 construction, and the cost per square foot jumps considerably, but you really aren't gaining that much. So if people think just putting more on the site is better, it actually isn't. This is the most efficient building at 5 stories. If we would be going higher, we'd be having more units. It would be putting more impact on the parking on the first floor, and also financially, it doesn't make sense.
Thank you. That's it for me. Thank you all.
Thank you for the presentation. Thank you, Ivan. That was very thorough. I want to say that I agree with Carol Rogers coming and representing the Downtown Business Association. They're the ones that are going to be most impacted, and I know that we heard from representatives of Felipe's Pizza as well. But I think this is for the success of downtown businesses, and there are people that are willing to pay for this lifestyle. You have a lot of people in that age bracket that work remotely, that don't need to be driving anywhere. And again, we want to take advantage of this. And Mr. Ferguson mentioned downtown Pasadena. My daughter lived in downtown Pasadena for a while, and it was developed very well, similar to the plan that's before us now. And the businesses downtown were booming from when I had last been there 5 years before all the changes. It was just different. High tourism. I just think this is a really good fit for this. And the financial boost, the walkability to the transit center, even the grocery store. I think it's a perfect fit. And we're not ignoring that we need affordable housing, but we also need this. So I'm happy to support this.
My initial concern was parking, and I asked about that, and I remember when being on planning that the decision from the state came that within a half a mile, and I said, oh yeah, it's almost half a mile, it's not quite. So there is no requirement for parking at all. 115 spaces are, I wish they were a little more, but I also understand that there's just not enough space for that. I believe that this is a piece of the puzzle to bring in residents that will live in this area and be able to walk to go to the places that they're looking for. And that is, as I understand, has been explained to me by state legislators, that is the reason why they don't require parking, because they want people to be able to walk to their places for entertainment, for purchase, and other, hopefully even work. I will support the project, and pretty much all the questions that I had have been answered. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I also had an opportunity to meet with staff and get a deep dive brief on this project, and also met with the applicant. So I appreciate spending time with the applicant, and Mr. Ferguson with you as well, and the engineer. I do think it's a beautiful project. I appreciate the thoughtfulness in the design. We had a robust conversation in our meeting about it. I did raise some concerns about this. So I'm the only one still on the city council that remembers this project from when it was a different developer and a different applicant. And I know that I'm not carrying over that, but I want to give some historical context because I feel that's important. Somebody from the public mentioned it. There was more before I started, but I believe this came before us in 2019, 2020 when we voted on it. And back then it was a different project, different developer. There were going to be some changes to Maple Street. They were going to take part of Maple Street Plaza. They were going to have public and residential parking, and they were going to have some affordable units. I voted against that project. This project then was involved in a lawsuit, which made the exception of why this property is not subject to the Vacant Surplus Lands Act. My concern, so this is a public parking lot, and I fundamentally believe that any public asset has to have a public benefit. And we do need housing. I do agree that more housing is great, but I'm not sold on the argument that all housing is appropriate housing. This project has zero affordability, which you know that's a big deal to me. I say this again because I'm always going to take opportunity to remind that I believe the city having a policy of having an inclusionary housing would create the foundation and the bar for every single project in Escondido to have affordability, so that we don't have to rely on a 100% affordable project, but that everybody who wants to do business in Escondido and bring a new development to Escondido must include some affordability in their project. So that's called inclusionary housing. We're one of the few cities that doesn't have it in the county, and we need it because it's really important. I support downtown. I go there often. There were some comments made about this project, revitalizing our downtown. And I will say, having been, grown up here since I was 4 years old, we've always focused on downtown. We've gone above and beyond and done everything for downtown, and we don't always give that same attention to other parts of our city. So I want to say that I want to be able to take into consideration that we need to support all our businesses in Escondido. And I don't know what the magic solution is for downtown Escondido. It's complex, but I will always support downtown Escondido. I don't think that this is the one magic solution to that. I do think that we should have housing downtown, so I do support housing downtown. I would love to be a homeowner in Escondido, but I just, can't financially do that in this current climate. So these rents, I was, telling the applicant, I wouldn't be able to afford these units or the ones that are on, what are they called again? The ones, Marlowe. I can't even afford to live at Marlowe. And you mentioned something to me when we had our check-in, saying that these would be the most, the premier real estate in the city, and it would be the most expensive housing. And then, just to pose that with, we just had a presentation from our housing funds telling me that we have over 5,000 residents on Section 8 housing, on the Section 8 housing list. So those two things I just, are really hard to grapple with tonight. This project, I believe, is not the right project for Escondido. I appreciate that I know that it is hard to build. I know that you did everything to be creative around designing this project. And the more dense you go, the more expensive it is because of steel and if you have to put an underground parking, that raises it up more, and a lot of that gets passed on to the residents. So I do empathize with you. But there's just, knowing Escondido, who lives here, I'm also very sensitive to gentrification. And I know that the people who would live in these units, if they were to even be filled, I didn't even ask you what the rents would be, but I'm they're going to be more than Marlowe, I know that. This would be new residents moving to Escondido. We have received a lot of new residents in the city post-COVID, but I want housing for people who live in Escondido who are waiting to be housed. And I feel if we're going to sell a public asset, it needs to have a strong community benefit. And there's no affordability in this project. I don't feel like it's the right project. I would support in the future having housing in downtown. This project was also because it was in this lawsuit. I also voted no for. So we were given several, I think 3, if I'm not mistaken. Are we allowed to disclose the negotiation stuff?
Well, what you can say is there were different appraisals,
Okay.
And
This
there
was
a ne-
discussed in closed session, everyone, which is why you weren't privy to those conversations. We're legally not allowed to share what happens in a closed session.
Right,
Go ahead.
but as a part of that, there were negotiations with respect to those appraisals. Some were very high. The methodology used in order to determine whether the appropriate comparables, all of those were taken into consideration in developing the eventual price.
Can we say the number of appraisals we received?
3.
Yes. Are we allowed to disclose the price? Okay. So our city attorney says no, but I will tell you this, that I had a threshold. So you have three proposals, right? Different amounts. I'm not allowed to say the amounts, per my city attorney. And through those amounts, a decision was made. I had a threshold of what I believed would be a minimum amount that we should sell this property for, and we did not reach that amount. So I did not support the price that we agreed to this property. So that's where I stand on it. I do, again, we need housing. I don't believe this is the right project. When a development in this area came forward before, it was also, not popular with our residents, but yeah, it doesn't feel right for Escondido, as much as I appreciate the effort and the investment, for you even considering an investment in our city. I appreciate that. But again, I just don't believe that this is the right project, so I will not be supporting this at this time.
All right. One of the public commenters mentioned RHNA numbers, the Regional Housing Needs Assessment, which is basically the state telling us how many housing units we need to build in the city of Escondido. The total they've given us is 9,607, and I know a lot of focus gets put on affordable housing, and I am not saying we don't need affordable housing. We do. So they break it up into 4 categories. Low income, very low income, moderate income, and above moderate income. For low and very low, they're saying we need a total of 3,400. For above moderate and moderate, 7,144. And I think that's indicative of our previous financial woes, just not collecting enough property tax. And I think we need to see some real growth in the city. And we need all of them. But the fact is, above moderate and moderate makes up over 60% of Escondido's need. I know a lot of talk tonight has been had about the Surplus Lands Act, but I don't think anybody explained what that actually is. So I'm going to turn to the city attorney and see if you can explain what that is.
I'll certainly try. So the Surplus Lands Act has been around for many years. It changed dramatically in 2020, January 1, 2020, which created a significant number of penalties and requirements in terms of how a public agency may dispose of its surplus property. Some properties are excess, and sometimes they're exempted, and that's another issue. But in this case, at the time the original exclusive negotiating agreement was entered into, I think it was in 2016, I believe it was before my time, right when I came into this seat, that began the negotiation period. And as that negotiations and determination of what the project would look like, we got past January 1, 2020, after the first project failed, and now we're still in the space, according to HCD, we can use the pre-2020 Surplus Land Act requirements and the penalties and so forth. So the benefit for us for being pre-2020 in the initial ENAs, is to kind of exclude us from some of the issues associated with the current Surplus Land Act.
And I guess the one point I was really looking for, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when we have surplus land, when a city has surplus lands, right now after the changes in 2020, after those changes, when you sell a piece of surplus land, affordable housing developers have first rights, and then you are required to negotiate in good faith. And one of the positions that puts us in moving forward, let's say the project was denied tonight, but in a decade we decided we want to sell the house, a developer could come in and put 500 units there with no parking.
You would have very little control over what would be going there.
It severely limits our options. At the same time, I hear you with the parking. I respectfully disagree with it being a desperate need, but here's what I do want to say. I want to make a commitment. So we learned that the $1.8 million is going to go into the, vehicle parking district?
Yes.
Okay. The $1.8 million is going into there. I just learned today that we have in our code, we have a parking commission.
We do. It has not been staffed for many years. I asked our city clerk if he could find any evidence of when that was, and it's been some time.
Because
the code includes that commission.
Because while I disagree with you right now, I would love for it to be a real problem with lots of people downtown spending money, living there, and all of that. We will get the parking commission going, use the $1.8 million and whatever other funds we can come up with as seed money. And there are already people approaching me personally about building a parking structure downtown. I've had 2 different property owners approach me about that. We can disagree on that problem right now, but we can work together to solve it moving forward. And that's my commitment to you. So I am supportive of this project. Yeah, and if anybody else has any questions or comments, now's the time. Otherwise, I'll move to approve.
I just want to say that I did get the petition of the over 100 signatures, so I want to acknowledge that.
Yes, that was included in the council's packet as well.
I'll second the mayor.
Motion and second, please vote.
Voting is open. Motion approved for 1, Councilmember Martinez, no.
We're going to take a 5-minute break. And I'd like to invite Yusuf Miller up front with me for our Human Trafficking Awareness Month proclamation. All right. I'm sorry I couldn't make it Saturday. I was in bed with a migraine, but I heard it went really well. And I appreciate you leading in the forefront for this cause here in Escondido. Whereas human trafficking is a serious violation of human rights that exploits individuals through force, fraud, or coercion and affects communities across the nation, including San Diego County. And whereas January is recognized as Human Trafficking Awareness Month, providing an opportunity to educate the public, promote prevention, and strengthen partnerships to combat human trafficking and commercial sexual exploitation. And whereas the City of Escondido recognizes the annual March and Walk for Human Trafficking Awareness, which brings together North County anti-human trafficking organizations, advocacy groups, community members, and leaders from across the state Route 78 corridor and beyond. And whereas this event highlights the impacts of human trafficking on indigenous communities through the voice of tribal members in leadership, while also promoting awareness and addressing needs throughout the San Diego County region. And whereas community leaders, including Yusuf Miller and Trish Martinez, community cohort chairs of the San Diego County Human Trafficking and Commercial Sexual Exploitation of Children Advisory Board, that is, yeah, all right, provide vital education and outreach to keep the public informed. And whereas educating businesses, schools, religious institutions, youth and adult groups, and other community partners is essential to prevention, early identification, and connecting survivors to wraparound services, helping to foster a safer Escondido. Now, therefore, I, Dane White, Mayor of the City of Escondido, do hereby proclaim January 2026 as Human Trafficking Awareness Month in the City of Escondido, and encourage all residents to remain informed, engaged, and united in protecting human dignity and freedom. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. Escondido, human trafficking is an issue. It's an issue throughout our county. As a matter of fact, San Diego is on the top 13 worst lists in the entire U.S. And some people may think, they'll jump right to the idea that it's because we're so close to the border. That is not the issue. On that 13 list, we have San Diego, L.A., and San Francisco. What we have in common is that we're tourist areas. So please don't let people attack our brown border with this idea that sex trafficking is mostly coming from Mexico because we're so close to it. Actually, it's just a tourist issue that we have here in San Diego. So what I'm asking you in Escondido, every 4th Saturday of January, we will do an anti-human trafficking march. Tell your family, tell your friends, tell your youth, tell your women's group, tell your men's group to come out so we can be aware of what's going on. We hear presentations from Indigenous brothers and sisters, from our Asian brothers and sisters, from North County Lifeline, from One Safe Place, and so many others resources throughout San Diego County. Please learn, please help, and educate yourselves on preventing human trafficking. Thank you. Yes, absolutely.
take a few pictures here. All right, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then if you don't mind, just for the official record real quick. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Yeah.
We meet right here at City Hall, right under the dome, the wire dome. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, we're going to continue with the agenda. Mayor had to step away for a moment. So our first, we'll have the presentation.
Sounds good. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and City Council members. My name is Christina Holmes. I'm the Director of Finance with the city. The item for this evening on the agenda is an amendment to the main subscription agreement with Workday. In today's presentation, I will provide a background on the Workday project and provide an update on the implementation of that software. I will then share additional services from Workday that staff are recommending to add to the agreement, walk through the next steps, and if the amendment is approved this evening, I will end with the recommended action. So the purpose of the presentation is to provide an update on the citywide implementation of Workday and a recommendation for additional services. At the conclusion of the presentation, staff are requesting City Council's approval of the main subscription agreement and the budget adjustment request. Enterprise Resource Planning Solutions integrate all of the city's core processes into one single system that support the entire city. Until January 2025, the city used an ERP system called PeopleSoft that was first implemented back in 1996. The PeopleSoft software included human resources, finance, and payroll. The PeopleSoft system stopped being supported by the parent company around 2018, and the underlying technologies were unable to support the city's modern operating systems. The outdated software limited the city's ability to improve and adapt to both business and technology needs that have changed since the city first implemented PeopleSoft back in 1996, more than 28 years ago. After an extensive search for new software that began in October of 2021, staff selected Workday as the software solution that would best meet the city's goals of bringing broad-based functionality and modern tools that will enable greater efficiency and transparency for many years to come. On April 19th, 2023, City Council approved the 15-year agreement with Workday, and staff immediately started the process of implementing that software. And so the city went live with Workday on January 1st of 2025. Compared to the three main processes that PeopleSoft supported, our legacy system, on the go-live date of January 1st, 2025, the city successfully implemented all of these tools listed here in Workday. Since going live 1 year ago, the city has experienced a significant return on investment, efficiencies created, and several processes streamlined. First and foremost, all 1,000 plus full-time and part-time employees converted from a fully paper-based time card and approval process to a streamlined paperless time entry system, saving staff hours citywide each pay period as payroll is processed. With the implementation of Workday, the city is now able to offer ACH payments to our vendors. The city averages over 5,300 payments annually. In the first 12 months with Workday, we have processed more than half of vendor payments electronically, over 3,300 electronic payments. The ACH payments offer better security, efficiencies for both staff and vendors, and give staff the capability of processing payments remotely in an emergency situation, ensuring continuity of operations for that business process. Business processes, approvals, tracking of financial transactions, and staff data is now paperless and contained in one software system. Workday also offers a mobile app that staff can use in the field for many items, such as time entry, approvals for a variety of processes, and access to their own job data. The first year of the Workday implementation was primarily focused on the internal processes within the city and converting the 28-year-old legacy system to the streamlined Workday software, with the goal and priority of continuing to improve and leverage the technology in the city to address city council priorities and citywide initiatives. With the success that we had in the first year of implementation, staff have been discussing these priorities with Workday staff to identify additional services that can be added onto the current software system to address those priorities. In the next slide, I'll describe these 4 additional services that will be added with City Council approval of the amendment this evening, as well as the improvements that customers, staff, residents, and those that do business with the City of Escondido will experience after implementation of these additional services. The first 2 products are focused on the procurement and purchasing process of the city. The city's already implemented the purchasing processes in Workday that begin after a solicitation has been completed and the contract is awarded. However, the city does not currently have the tools to efficiently gather information for those interested in working with the city, to effectively advertise bids, or to perform all of the solicitation and contract steps in a cohesive citywide process. Strategic sourcing and contract lifecycle management are the tools in Workday that will streamline that process. So the first, starting with the process, is the Workday Strategic Sourcing Expert. This service is focused on those that do business with the City of Escondido, suppliers, consultants, and vendors. The tool includes a public-facing supplier portal to register as an interested vendor with the city. This ensures that when the city posts a request for bid, proposal, or quote, all interested parties are informed. Vendors can then use that portal to respond directly to the city's bids. With the supplier registration information, we'll be able to report on that data, including identifying businesses that are located in Escondido, and ability to include that information in bid scoring criteria, depending on the type of funding source. This tool also includes automated routing, status updates to ensure vendors are informed timely of events associated with a bid, supplier message center, sourcing events, supplier performance tracking, and integration to Workday's contract management solution, which I will discuss next. Contract lifecycle management is the second service, and that will streamline the creation and administration of a contract, enabling the city to manage and track contracts from creation through contract signature by providing templating, workflow management, redlining, approval capabilities, and alert staff when a contract is nearing an expiration or renewal date to ensure a timely renewal process. This ensures the consistency of the contracts issued by the city and will create efficiencies, reducing the time it takes to complete a contract. Custom dashboards can be created within the tool to visualize and organize the city's structured contract data. This next slide shows a summary of the procurement services that I just presented, comparing the city's current state on the left to the benefits and efficiencies the city will gain by implementing these new Workday services. Currently, staff are heavily reliant on manual tools such as Word and email. Processes are fragmented and decentralized. With the implementation of strategic sourcing and contract lifecycle management, the city will be able to speed up processing times for bids and contracts, provide information both internally and public-facing, give more access to information and process to the city's suppliers and vendors, and centralize the procurement process from start to finish, ensuring compliance and accuracy of data citywide. Next is a product called Accounting Center. This tool brings in data from all of the city's software systems to be able to centralize and organize the information in one location so that staff can monitor, analyze, and report on any set of data timely and efficiently. As an example, the city has several different software systems that collect revenue from customers. Development services and fire prevention uses CityWorks. Utility billing uses customer care and billing, and community services uses the Amelia software. Currently, in order to compare information such as the number of building permits collected in a year compared to the revenue generated, like the building permit revenue slide shown here, several different staff resources are involved to put this information together manually. Other examples would be the number of utility accounts billed in a bill cycle, or the number of recreation classes in a quarter compared to the revenue collected. The Accounting Center would bring this type of information directly into Workday from all of these systems. So not only is the data in one spot, but it would be readily available and able to be monitored timely and efficiently by staff. Workday Extend is the fourth and final product of the new services. This is a technology tool needed to implement these services. This tool enables organizations to use existing and create new custom extensions and applications within Workday. So as I mentioned, in April of 2023, City Council approved the 15-year main subscription agreement. The total price of the contract for the full 15-year term is a little over $9.4 million. The ongoing funding for the subscription is accounted for in the annual operating budget and is split between the general fund, water fund, and wastewater fund. The total cost of the 4 additional services is $2,869,740. Normally, staff would wait and consider these new services as part of the annual operating budget adoption process. However, under Workday's annual contracting timeline, they are able to offer a savings of $640,000 over the remaining life of the agreement if the contract amendment is approved by January 31st. Delaying the approval or moving forward with each service individually will increase the cost of each of the services. As I mentioned, the 15-year annual agreement costs are amortized on an annual basis. A budget adjustment is included with this agenda item for the first year service costs of $180,000 for the 4 additional services. After this fiscal year, the annual agreement amount will increase by $239,565 each year after that for the remaining life of the agreement. I also wanted to note that additional funding for the costs associated with the conversion of the new services will be requested at a future date as the contracts are awarded. For next steps, with approval of the amendment this evening, we'll begin a solicitation process for a consultant to assist with the conversion and implementation of each of these services. After a contract is awarded to the consultants, implementation of components of each service can begin immediately. The current business model in the city for each of these processes is decentralized amongst the departments. Given the scope of bringing these business processes to a centralized system, staff anticipate a full year to completely implement these services. So that concludes staff's presentation. For the recommended action, we are requesting that City Council adopt the resolution number 2026-08 to authorize the amendment to the agreement. Thank you.
Do we have any public comments?
None.
Okay. I only have one question, and it's aimed at the city manager. Can you explain just a little bit what this does for contracts and how it makes our contracts a little more transparent?
So eventually, when this service is implemented, I've already instructed staff that what we will start doing, as many agencies around the country do, is you will be able to see who, the public will be able to see who the city is doing business with, the dollar amount of that contract in the interest of transparency, and when the contract term comes forward. Currently, if you would want us to divulge that information, you would have to do an open records request. That is not the standard that I think we should be aspiring to in disclosure and transparency. But on the other issues, that we have businesses out there who are regularly asking how to do business with the city, and how the council, other councils around the state have considered how to make, you can't do this on every contracting, but how you could, in scoring criteria, include things such as credit for being a local business as you do the solicitation, so that we are not, it's not guaranteed a local business will get the business, but they have a leg up because they're going to be scored slightly differently. These are all opportunities that present themselves. And then finally, I can't emphasize enough, the regular reporting on the revenue side, which looks at each fund that's coming into the city and makes it really transparent how that fund is performing. And that's everything from a school, a program that we're offering, how our aquatics enrollment is doing and how the revenue is doing for that, to, frankly, the water billing and how the utility and how our projections are going. That brings it all centralized. It becomes a tool for the public to access and understand better, for council how to direct, and frankly, staff how to manage its day-to-day activity. And as you see, unfortunately, this organization went through some very, very difficult financial crisis. Took a long time to adapt. This isn't the only system that we're trying to bring back to a 21st century standard and create that visibility. You're about to see a secondary presentation about the current condition of our traffic signalization, which again is fragmented just like this, and our efforts to bring a holistic approach and create transparency for the council and the community and trust and encourage additional trust on all those fronts.
Perfect, thank you. Anybody else?
Question. I really like the doing the scoring model for local businesses, and I do have one question regarding advertising the bids. How are you going to be doing that?
So there is a public-facing portion of the workday, the strategic sourcing, that is a component of that product. So if a vendor submits their information, they're interested in specific type of services or activities or projects, then when the city does post a bid on that system, they will be automatically notified.
Okay.
So they'll be aware that the bid is available to be responded to.
And then as the training is going and developing, because you said it's going to be about a year-long process, will there be outreach to let the businesses know that this is where we're going so they can prepare to be a part of that?
It will be a very big lift citywide to get the full procurement purchasing, but yes, I think we want to have all those conversations looking at each type of project, each type of process. There's a lot of customization that can be done within the Workday product using their tools. So I think there's definitely opportunities for that.
Great, thank you.
Would you like to make a motion too?
Yes, I motion to approve.
I'll second it. Any other discussion? Councilwoman?
Just a comment, thanks for the presentation. I'm excited about the changes and bringing us up to date, so things can be streamlined, especially for like the contract lifecycle management. And I appreciate this being brought forward so we can save $640,000. I know it's gonna take about a year for this to be implemented, but it would be great to, if possible, now that we have our social media staff, is to, when things get updated on the website, to show the new updates that are happening, because like where to find it on the website and what it is. I think it's good if things are happening in a phased approach that we also share in a phased manner how these tools can be used by our residents and businesses. Yep. Thank you.
All right, if there's nothing else, there's a motion and second. Please vote.
Voting is open. Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. We'll now move on to item 11, the Citywide Traffic Signal System Communications Update.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Craig Williams. I'm with the Traffic Engineering Group within Public Works. It's my pleasure this evening to come back to you after we were just here 2 weeks ago. But in this case, we're giving you an update on the communications improvements we're doing to the citywide traffic signal system. We have It looks like a full agenda, but I think we'll go through it quickly. We're going to give you a very brief overview of our city traffic signal system. Talk about a highway safety improvement grant that we've taken advantage of to do some substantial and significant improvements to the system. I'll talk about our communications master plan and then design of those planned improvements, what those benefits of those signal communication improvements will be, a little bit about the implementation schedule, and then some overview of some of the actual benefits of the system in more detail, particularly restoration of corridor synchronization. I'll explain some of the details of what that actually means in a little bit. And then some future signal communication plans, so full agenda. Most people probably don't realize that we have exactly 200 traffic signalized intersections in the city. 178 of those signals belong to the city. 21 of those belong to Caltrans, and then one of them belongs to the county. You can imagine the signals that belong to Caltrans actually are the approach, the interchanges for the I-15 as well as State Route 78, and as it snakes down through the city along Lincoln and Broadway and Ash and down to San Pasquale. The challenges that the city has been working with over particularly the last 5 years have been significant. The controllers, basically the brains that control, that moderate the information that is taken in from the traffic signals and the detectors and then transmitted to the other signals. Those controllers are 1980s technology, and they are pretty much obsolete, and they are no longer available. So when we have to replace them, we have to replace them with a newer model. That newer model can't perform at its best because the communication system that it's tied to is a different technology. Which leads me into the communication system. We, since the mid-90s, have utilized AT&T phone lines. So for about the last 30 years, our signal wires have tied into the AT&T system, and then AT&T is used to take that signal back to our traffic management center. What's happened, as you can imagine, as all the communication providers have moved toward fiber, they have paid less and less attention to their phone lines, and they're abandoning those throughout the city. They have really reduced the amount of maintenance that they provide on those phone lines, and it's caused us some significant issues, and I'll show you that in a minute. The other thing that's really key is that those phone lines are fairly small wires, and they have a very restricted bandwidth, and they can't really accommodate some of the newer technology that's available in those controllers and available for us to provide a better, smoother operating traffic signal system. A lot of challenges, and we've got a good direction to move forward. I want to say lastly, though, that that loss of signal communication impacts a number of things. First off, it impacts our ability to see whether or not signals are still functioning like we could 5 years ago. And it's also impacted our ability to coordinate signals. We all know that we love to be able to drive down a street, our favorite street, Bear Valley Parkway, and see as we approach each signal to see it turn green. That's ideal. That has not been an ideal factor in recent years. And as you know, perhaps a lot of you have received concerns from constituents about the fact that we've got some significant traffic backup there. What we're trying to do, what we're proposing to do with the signal communication system allows us to fix that. So, and this is actually a great segue from that, and I want to share a couple of different things. On the left-hand side, this is a screenshot of all of the city's traffic signals in 2020, so about 5 years ago. Now it says Transparity. Transparity is a software that we use to allow us to see what the status is of traffic signals in the system from our computers at work. And we're calling that freely a traffic control center. But you'll see that there are an awful lot of green signals here, green dots here, and a fair number of blue, but really not very many red. And if you look on the right, basically this is the picture of our signal communication system today. And you'll see no green, meaning that we don't have coordination on the existing signals like we did in a minute. I'll show you another shot in a second. We have a whole lot of red, which means that those signals are offline. Doesn't mean that they're not working. It just means that it's not transmitting information through that phone line network so that we can see what's happening. That's really important when it comes to a failed signal. In the past, when we had a red signal show up on the left-hand side here, it would send a message to our signal technicians that the signal is down. They would send somebody out there and fix it right away. We do maintain all of our own signals in-house, which is a great system, and we have some really great people that do that. But what happens now is that we no longer have the ability to see what's happening out in the field, and we literally have to rely on people to call it in and say, hey, the signal's not working at Valley and Bear Valley Parkway. And then we can go out and take care of that signal. So it's difficult. This is a slide I wanted to show you to kind of illustrate this corridor synchronization that I mentioned earlier. You can see the green signals, the green dots. Those are signals that are coordinated. That's the way that corridor was coordinated. It was synchronized, which means that there's a progression of signals as you travel westbound or southbound, or a progression of signals as you travel northbound. We don't have that anymore. We had the same kind of thing here on West Valley Parkway into the city on 2nd, down Grand, and then the opposite direction on Valley Parkway. Same thing with Center City Parkway. You'll look at every major corridor that we had in 2020, and you'll see that they were coordinated. I just want to emphasize that this doesn't mean that the signals aren't working. They're working, but they're just not telling us anything from the city, and it impacts our ability to be responsive. So knowing all of those challenges that I mentioned earlier, we were able to take advantage of a Highway Safety Improvement Program grant from Caltrans. What that allowed us to do, and what that has allowed us to do, was inventory the city's traffic signal system, including the conduits, the pipes that connect each of the individual signals, and whether or not the wires in between there are working. That allowed us to get a clear direction forward to fix all of the challenges that we had mentioned. The consultant developed a signal communication master plan, and then they have given us some construction plans to help us implement that. So the money was not only to do a master plan, but it was also available to implement those improvements. In some respects, it wasn't a lot of money, but it was $1.1 million. And frankly, in 2021, that was a lot. That was a real gift for us. We had to match that. It was a 50-50 grant. We had to match that with another $1.1 million. At that time, 21-22, we had obligated those funds in 243, Public Facilities Fund, half of that, and then the other half of it in the Streets Project Fund, which is a reimbursable account. The Communication Master Plan, as I kind of alluded to earlier, we hired to me, one of the best traffic consultants in Southern California, Stack Traffic, to create this master plan. Their challenge was to do the most work, the best value work that we could do in the city for that $2.1 million, $2.3 million. $200,000 of that was for the engineering, and that left a little more than $2 million for construction. Their recommendations were to replace those 1980s controllers with a newer version, with what are called a 2070. And frankly, their recommendation was to abandon the AT&T network by installing cellular modems that transmit that signal over the airwaves. I provided an interesting little exhibit here, and it shows that the controllers go in, they transmit signal into a city cable, and then currently goes into an AT&T hub, and then it snakes to our traffic control center via AT&T cables most of the time, part of the time. Now, as I mentioned and I showed you earlier, it was pretty successful 5 years ago. What we're wanting to do is basically remove that, abandon that AT&T system with cell modems, basically. Those cell modems are about the same cost to the city that the AT&T hubs were, so it's kind of a zero sum. Those signals are now transmitted via airwaves and into the traffic control center in the city. And basically it allows us to see those signals on our computers at work. If you haven't ever opened up a traffic signal cabinet, which probably you haven't, this gives you a sense of what the controller looks like. It's basically a computer, basically the brains of the system. There's a whole bunch of cards here that control the cameras and various signals. Over on the right-hand side, this is actually the AT&T communications panel, and you can see those phone wires that are snaking out of that panel. I did want to point out, too, this item's number 6, which I think is pretty key. That's called a conflict monitor, and basically, if the controller messes up some way and somehow tries to give both directions a green, it shuts the system down. It's a good thing. And usually it puts that signal on red flash, which we've seen a number of times lately on Bear Valley Parkway at Zlatiboro. So hopefully we're getting that resolved as well. What we did with the master plan approval, we told the contractor or the consultant to go forward with design plans. Those design plans were completed in December of 25. Ends up that the city will purchase 135 controllers. Why don't we purchase 178? Well, it's because we've already replaced a lot of those. Some of those signals are pretty new, and we've used that later technology, and some of those failed 170 controllers have been replaced by the 2070s. So we're purchasing 138 of them and then 71 cell modems. And those 71 cell modems equate to every AT&T hub that we currently have. Total cost of the equipment is estimated around $1.4 million. Programming the equipment, installation, then oversight of that work is about $600,000. Again, that totals up to about $2 million. We have submitted those plans to Caltrans, and we're expecting authorization for that money so that we can start ordering the equipment and then setting up an RFP for the contractor to install it hopefully next month. As I've kind of alluded to a number of these things already, but I wanted to touch on the advantages. Most importantly, the biggest advantage is that we've got a reliable connection between the city's signals and the control center. I mentioned that earlier. Signal outages are reported on an immediate basis, and this is a really key piece here. It builds a future traffic signal communication redundancy. So, and I'll talk about that more in a minute, but just recall that. One of the other things is that the cell modems have a lot more bandwidth than the telephone lines do. What happened with some of the telephone lines is if we had 14 signals hooked into that one telephone line, it would bog the system down. And then it wouldn't report back because it was literally too much demand on the skinny little wires that are provided there. These more sophisticated controllers have a variety of different tools. One thing that I think I've mentioned before is that it allows us to do this leading pedestrian interval, which increases pedestrian safety at literally every one of those intersections. The other thing that I alluded to before is restoration of traffic signal coordination. And I won't go back to that previous slide, but it allows us to restore that smooth traffic flow that we were used to earlier. Sometime in the next month, around the next month, we'll be issuing an RFP to hire a traffic consultant to do the work to restore that arterial signal coordination, as I mentioned earlier. The idea is that those coordination plans will be done around the same time that all of that new equipment is installed, so that we can immediately utilize the advantage that we're going to see with that new equipment. Schedule. We're optimistic that Caltrans is going to authorize those funds in next month. We hope to come back to Council on March 4th to allow us to go ahead and purchase the signal equipment, the $1.4 million that I mentioned. Allows us to advertise the traffic signal installation, the equipment installation, hopefully in March. We should come back to you in May and ask for award for the installation contract. The construction should start summer of '26, and construction time will take about 4 to 6 months. As you can imagine, if you're ordering 138 controllers from a vendor, you don't want those all to show up at the yard 6 months from now. So what will happen is that they'll deliver 20 or 30 a month, and then that allows our engineers to start programming each one of those computers and in fact, perhaps start installing them on a kind of a staged basis so we don't bog it all down. And then finally, future signal communication. I know that we've all heard about what the city is doing with Sci-Fi, installing fiber optic to virtually every household in the city. We were successful in negotiating with Sci-Fi to provide a direct fiber optic connection to every signal in the city. That's a pretty monumental gift for the city. Those connections will be leased in the same way that we're currently paying AT&T, the same way that we'll be paying for those cell modems. What that allows us to do is that once Sci-Fi is ready to start connecting our signals, it allows much more bandwidth than we even have with cell modems. And it provides a very responsive system. But what that allows us is that those cell modems that we've installed aren't wasted. They'll stay inside those traffic cabinets.
and we'll just stop paying the bill. And if we have some sort of issue with sci-fi or fiber optic in the future, or even for an interim shutdown, we can energize those cell modems and keep the system running. So it's an excellent redundancy, as I mentioned earlier. So it's a very excellent piece. This is just the same diagram as I mentioned earlier, even though at this point I've shown you where the sci-fi fiber is then exchanging the previous connection that we had for AT&T or the cell modems, but the cell modems are staying in place. Finally, a couple of different things that are coming up. We'll be coming back to you on March 4th to give you an update on CATS, the Active Transportation Strategy, and those safe routes to school projects that we mentioned 2 weeks ago. And we'll be asking, as I mentioned then, a budget adjustment of $1.9 million to allow us to move forward with those life safety projects to all of the schools in the city. Secondly, we'll be moving forward with the coordination of the signals at Broadway and Lincoln Parkway and Broadway and Lincoln Avenue. I know that we've had some discussions about that. We have a very unusual situation that Caltrans owns the signal at Lincoln Parkway and the city owns the signal at Lincoln Avenue. What we're doing is implementing some conversations with Caltrans to allow those two signals to talk to each other in a much more efficient manner than they do right now. And then finally, as I think we've mentioned before, we'll be coming back to council with the police department for them to give a presentation on traffic safety enforcement, and that will be a future council workshop. Again, this is a receive and file. There's no action that we're asking you to take. We just wanted to share with you what we think is some very good news for the citywide traffic signal system and how we're looking forward to making it work better than it does today. So I'm very open to any questions that you might have.
Any public comments?
None.
Okay. Thank you for the presentation. I am ecstatic, and I cannot wait for this to be done. That's all I have to say.
Appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Oh, sorry.
No, that's it. Same. Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you, especially the 78 and Lincoln, that one. And then I just want to say I also appreciate your knowledge and I know you're very passionate about this.
And I did want to say to you that they turned on the signal at Washington and Rose this morning.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Yeah, so. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. Good news all around.
Yeah. Thank you. Really excited. And it's apparent that we are having issues with our signals. They keep going red here and there. I live right off of East Valley and Bear Valley, and it is a constant issue. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm grateful we're stepping into the 21st century here, so good work. Also, I really appreciate that you have a backup plan for your backup plan. So keeping our city safe, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody have anything they want to add to a future agenda?
Excuse me. I do, if I could just. I attended the Regional Solid Waste Association meeting, and there's a lot of good things to report on, a lot of legal updates that impact our city. So I'd like to request to have our city's recycling group, or gosh, I forgot their name, just to come and give a presentation, because there's things that directly impact our restaurants, restaurants, homes, schools, and also some financial bonuses that are available to the residents. So it'd be good for them just to give an updated presentation because a lot has changed coming into 2026 that could benefit us.
And Councilmember Fitzgerald, to clarify, do you want a presentation from city staff or from RISWA?
From city staff.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have a second on that? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Council member, subcommittee reports, and other reports. Councilmember Fitzgerald, go ahead.
So this month, as we stated earlier, was Human Trafficking Month. Human Trafficking Awareness Month. I attended the One Safe Place event where it's basically you can stop human trafficking. Chief Plunkett joined me at that, and he endorsed and supported what we're doing regionally. Also, I attended the Stop Human Trafficking walk at Grape Day Park, so I got to spend a little more time with Yusuf, and again, I really encourage us to come out there every last Saturday of the month. Of January, thank you, for that walk. It's a very important cause. On Thursday, I attended with the mayor a tour of the neighborhood healthcare PACE program that's up in Murrieta, or Temecula rather, that's going to be opening up here in Escondido. It is a phenomenal facility. It is for seniors that are living at home without family. It's just activities, food, maybe the only good meal they get for the day, a lot of socializing, medical care. So I am really excited. It was a huge facility. They're bringing it here. And with that, they're going to be bringing an additional 200 jobs, which is going to make their, raise them to, I think it's about 1,000 employees that they have. They offer 1,000 jobs in our community. So I'm really, I appreciate that. On Monday, we had the Economic Development Subcommittee meeting with the mayor, and we reviewed the sidewalk vending ordinance draft that's going to be coming before us soon. The mayor and my colleague, Christian Garcia, we attended the Chamber Open House. Really good turnout. Lots of new businesses, young entrepreneurs, and it's really an exciting time. So they're going to be getting more connected with economic development in the city. So I'm looking forward to that partnership. And last week, I was appointed to the Sandag Public Safety Board representing the North County region. So hoping to really bring a lot more attention for safety, in not just Escondido, but in our region, our other communities, neighboring communities that impact what happens here as well. Also, is Greg Oliver still here? Okay, I just need clarification. So we're going to be, the Escondido Fire Safe Council is going to be holding the 3rd annual disaster awareness event. Now, is it on February 14th or, okay, because some people were saying this Saturday, but I kept saying the 14th. So it's very informative if you have not attended yet, especially with the climate that we have with just the threat of fire. It's going to be at the headquarters, Fire and Police headquarters. And what time is it going to be again?
It's going to start at 10 o'clock in the morning and go to 1.
10 to 1. So I really would urge you to go get updates, see what resources are available, and thank you for all the good work that you and the council do.
Absolutely. Bring your devices because we'll load them with the correct apps so that you can be aware of what's going on in San Diego with fire.
So you're
all kinds of emergencies.
So I'm just going to repeat what you said. If you do attend, and I hope you do, please bring your cell phone devices, and they will help you upload the most current apps that'll let you know what's going on with fire and fire safety and dangers. Okay, thank you, Mr. Oliver. That's all I have.
All right, so a couple of things. I am a member of the Public Safety Cal Cities Committee. We had our first meeting of the year, so I attended that. As we're developing our work plan, these are some of the things that we'll be talking about. Concern over youth access to Class 2 e-bikes. This was a major discussion that we'll be having. We're going to revisit juvenile sentencing, police officer mental health and wellness, jail and prison overcrowding, seeking full funding on Prop 36, restore deep pretrial cuts to protect safety and access, diversion expansion, talking about fireworks. There's some legislation that we'll be discussing regarding licensing and disqualifications for that, and a major portion of the time we spent talking about public health, SB 758, regarding nitrous oxide, and that this needs to be prohibited from being sold. It should be prohibited being sold at cigarette and tobacco retailers, with the exception only of supermarkets. So this is a huge issue that's coming down for discussion in our committee. I have recently received the appointment from the National League of Cities to Tier 1 Suburbs Committee and the Large Cities Commission. So Escondido will have an opportunity to have a voice at the table nationally to be able to discuss some of the issues that cities our size and our areas have. Thank you. That concludes my report.
All right. Councilmember Fitzgerald took a couple of mine. The neighborhood health care one, though, that was the program of all-inclusive care for elderly. And it was that was a phenomenal visit, getting to see all of the services they provide in just a one-stop shop. Last Saturday, I was a judge in the Miss San Diego Scholarship Pageant, which was a blast. Young ladies from all over the county participated in that. It was two parts. One was interviews, and then the next part was the actual pageant. But that was fantastic to be a part of. On Monday night, I am on a panel of judges for the Creek Trail murals. There'll be 5 or 6 new murals put on the Creek Trail on the side of the neighborhood healthcare building, and I'm excited to have the public get to see those. We had some fantastic submissions. I think there was over 60 in total, and by the time we whittled it down to about 15, it was very challenging to pick the actual winners. I met with one of my constituents. His name is Max Devereaux, and he has an album out, an actual album, at Track City Records, and on the album is a song about Escondido, so my recommendation is to go pick up that album and listen to the song. And then the city manager and I both met with Congressman Darrell Issa's staff and Senator Adam Schiff's staff to discuss upcoming needs and priorities for the city of Escondido. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. I will be at a CEA meeting tomorrow, and I think there's some things that are looking pretty positive. We're looking for some creative solutions for cost, but remaining committed to clean energy. Been having meetings with business owners. The mayor and I attended the Downtown Business Association meeting last week. I think that was pretty productive. It kind of gauged how the downtown businesses are feeling about a number of projects, including the one that we spoke about today. And all in all, I think people are very optimistic. And as always, thank you to my community for the privilege of serving.
All righty. I have a community cleanup coming up this Saturday at Grove Park. 9 a.m. It's from 9 a.m. to 10:30. You can sign up at volunteer.escondido.org, and then that website is accessible through the city website. You can sign up for many other volunteer opportunities, but this is one of the monthly cleanups that I do in my districts, and the address is 745 North Ash Street. Also save the date for April 4th, Earth Day Escondido. Currently, it's going to be one of my neighborhood celebrations at Washington Park, so it returns to the Washington Park, and we are looking for community organizations, resource tables, so reach out to me if you are interested. And then on Friday, I will be serving lunch to our seniors at the Park Avenue Community Center. And then just lastly, I want to say, I have been getting a lot of emails, about an item that will come February 25th. So I just wanted to say, for those who have reached out about the contract with DHS ICE at a police range, February 25th is when that will be discussed publicly, so just wanted to share that because I have been getting lots of calls and emails this week on that matter. That's all for me. Thank you.
City Manager?
Yes, I would like to congratulate Chief Batson and the entire Escondido Fire Department on achieving Class 1 rating status from the Insurance Services Office. Only about 1% of the fire departments around the country achieve this status. It's an elite designation that reflects the department's excellence in emergency response capabilities, training, fire prevention, water supply, communications, and community risk reduction. We get to join in San Diego County, Chula Vista, Heartland, Santee, National City, Poway, and San Marcos that also have that certification. We will be coming back to council to do a presentation about that, the work that went in to achieving that status, and talk about what benefits at a future council meeting.
Public comments?
Yes, Honorable Mayor, we have a few comments left. Thank you for those who waited through the meeting. Our next speaker is Anna Marie Velasco.
Long evening for all of us. Okay, dear Mayor and City Council members, I'm aware that you've been receiving dozens of letters in relation to our Chief of Police renewing a contract with ICE to use the Escondido Police Firing Range. I am not going to get into the technical or legal issues on this subject. For me, this is personal. After teaching 30 years plus more than 30 years, 14 of which were here in Escondido, I had the privilege of meeting hundreds of Latino families who live and provide essential services to our community. They are mechanics, gardeners, teachers, house cleaners, hospital workers, dental assistants, etc. They are not the rapists and criminals like this regime and ICE want you to believe. They are hardworking humans, beings who've been waiting for decades for immigration policies that would give them legal status. Let me share just one family case, only one. The parents finally obtained a resident visa. Of the 6 children, 4 are US citizens. 2, the oldest, was able to apply to DACA. The second, my student, Sarita, didn't make it. President Trump shut down the program. My ex-student is a beautiful, smart young woman who happened to be in my 3rd grade class at Glenview Elementary School. I actually had the privilege of having 4 of the 6 kids in my class. Sarita graduated from Orange Glen High School, and I'm telling you this because this is real. This is our community. These are our schools. These are our people. She graduated from Orange Glen High School, went on to State San Marcos, and holds a bachelor's degree in psychology. And she is pregnant with her first child, a little girl. I can't sleep at night thinking what might happen to her and her child if ICE finds her and detains her. So I do not understand and comprehend why our new chief of police did not come to you for advice on this matter, knowing that 51% of our residents, including myself, and 4 of you are of Latino background. Why on earth did he think this was just another bureaucratic contract renewal? ICE kills. It has been shown clearly in all the horrific videos these past few weeks. Our police department, paid by our tax dollars, is here to protect all of us, all of us. We cannot allow ICE to use any facilities paid by our tax money. I will not stay silent if anything happens to my student Sarita, her family, and the hundreds of Latino families who are living in fear due to the cruelty and illegal actions of ICE and this administration. Do what is right. Cancel the contract and prepare to protect our community. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Sharon Edmonds.
Hi, I'm Sharon Edmonds, and I live up above Orange Glen High School a little bit. And I first want to thank you, Council and Mayor, for being here for this. I just want to know what you are planning to do to keep our city safe if masses of ICE or CBP are posted here. I want to know that you're planning for that. Because it could happen. It's happening to one place after another, and we may think we're a small city, but please plan what would happen to our city's residents if that happens here. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Maria Wallace.
Good evening, Mayor, Council members. My name is Maria, and Escondido has been my home for over 30 years. For months, I have come to you to speak on immigration, and all I got is silence. When you have not made any comments publicly regarding this matter, it tells me that you don't care. In the meantime, families continue to be separated, abducted in the street, taken cartel style, and put in concentration camps. Our government is taking away their due process under the law. And the violations of human rights that these federal agents are committing are so obvious. But you, 4 Republicans in this council, have remained silent. Now, our own police department renews a contract with the Department of Homeland Security to share Escondido's shooting range to practice. Then later on, we, the residents of Escondido, will be the target of these federal agents. No. Chief Plunkett, what are we thinking? What is the plan? Escondido has had the highest number of abductions in North County. More than 30 deaths have been registered nationwide in these concentration camps. And 3 murders have been committed by ICE this year. Keith Potter Jr. in Los Angeles, and in Minnesota, Alice Purdy and Renee Good gave their lives for their communities and to save democracy. I believe Councilmember Consuelo Martinez submitted a public statement of not supporting immigration agents present in Escondido. To the rest of you, please, where is your public statement denouncing ICE? Mr. Joe Garcia, you're a pastor. What do you tell your congregation about immigration? Back in September, during the Mexican Independence celebration here in the Arts Patio, you hold the Mexican flag and very proud say, Viva Mexico. Mr. Christian Garcia, you are a teacher. You are supposed to be a mentor, a provider of knowledge, a role model to our students. What do you tell your students? Do they know that the party you pledge allegiance to is the one that is supporting kidnapping families? Judy Fitzgerald, ex-sheriff, I don't know what type of Latina you are, but you are the kind that supports the kidnapping of our fellow Latinos. You're a proud Republican that loves DeRosa and President Trump. Mr. Dane White, our mayor, instead of filming yourself on ground, how about you start documenting what ICE is doing to our undocumented and documented immigrants in our city? Lastly, council members, I'm asking you to send a notice to the contracting officer to tell the federal government that the people of Escondido do not want ICE in our street. We want this contract to be canceled immediately. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Maya Flores.
I'd like to quickly speak on my deep concern and just my deep concern and disturbation by your guys' reaction to the community finding out about this contract. The city council, the mayor, and the chief, all of your guys' reactions have been to seem that, oh, well, this has been the state of things since 2014.
of course he renewed it, normal things, either it's ignorance or it's malicious towards half of the population of Escondido. You guys need to pick on that. I have contacted each one of you, except for Consuelo, because I do know that you made a public comment denouncing ICE. I've reached out to each of one of you. I did hear back from Christian Garcia. He did not reply to my my email afterwards, where I pointed out that it indeed is ICE that the contract is under, not just HSI is a division of ICE. And I would like to just say that this contract should be canceled immediately. We should be able to have access to this contract because most contracts have a cancellation period. We're not able to see that, and we're not having a council meeting on this agenda item or whatever until next month, in which the cancellation period, I'm assuming if there even is one, is over. Also, I would like to say, the contract also states on the US government website that the reason that we got this contract, amazing, yay, we got accepted for it, is because we submitted the lowest bid. So I again find that very interesting that there's a standard renewal process. And even if that is fine, whatever, that was the standard one, again, Chief Plunkett saw that we were having the lowest bid and that was standard and that was okay for Escondido. Fine, you want to say ICE is great, whatever. You're okay with renting out our facilities for the lowest bid to, I'm pretty sure, an agency that most cities are not giving leases out to this year. That's very concerning. Because honestly, the reactions I've gotten from the council, sorry, Christian, because nobody else has responded to me, is basically he blindly signed this renewal, which bleeds of incompetence. So it's either incompetence or malicious behavior towards half of the population of Escondido. Also, I'd like to speak on the fact that there are ICE stagings going on in the police department's parking lot. So what's going on with that, I'd like to know as well. Is that part of the contract?
Our next speaker is Simon. Is it Gutman? Gutman, yeah. Guzman, oh, my apologies. The Z was a T. I thought that was T, sorry.
Good evening, Mayor White and honorable council members. My name is Simon Guzman. I use pronouns such as he, him, and él. I lived in Escondido for several years. My family still lives here. And as a son of an immigrant family who experienced family separation firsthand, I spent many years in my youth organizing here in this city. To make sure that we ended programs like Secure Communities, and that we passed laws like AB4, the Trust Act, and organized DACA clinics and Know Your Rights trainings with peers, classmates, and families, because we called this place home. I'm also one of the organizers and members of Sowing Seeds of Dignity, an advocacy group of North County locals who believe all of us, no matter our immigration status, should be given the dignity, respect, and the right to live without fear. I'm here today on behalf of our coalition to ask the city of Escondido for immediate transparency, accountability, and corrective action regarding the contract permitting DHS to utilize city-owned police shooting range and training facility. This contract should have never been signed to begin with, and I echo already what folks have said, but our officials should have known better than to have signed this. And now in today's climate and the fear that all of our families have, we need you to solve this, and the city to solve this. This contract violates the intention and the spirit of the California's Values Act, which restricts state and local law enforcement from using resources for federal immigration enforcement and foster trust between immigration communities and public agencies. This does not build trust. The city of Escondido must use every available legal and administrative strategy to cancel this contract immediately, and send a clear message about the values that the city holds to our families who look to you in this moment. My sister, our kids are looking to you for bold leadership in this moment. Additionally, we urge that you explore the ways to end, in addition to exploring the way to end this contract, that you remember the power and the local jurisdiction that you do have as city officials to correct harm and further protect our families. You have the power to do things and protect us, like enact ICE-free zones that would prohibit ICE and DHS to use municipal property, including but not limited to parking lots, garages, police facility, training sites, and other facilities, and ban any kind of federal immigration enforcement activities or staging or operations to be conducted. The city can also provide additional protection for families by allocating a budget funding that will give emergency aid and support services for families impacted by immigration enforcement, as so many Escondido families are seeing right now the targeting of our families under this administration and are living every single day in fear of what could happen to their family members. Thank you so much for your time. We will be back.
Our next speaker is Greg Oliver.
Hello, Council. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak for you again. I am sure that in previous years, signing this range contract was viewed as a clerical formality, but the agency we signed with initially no longer exists. Last year was the deadliest in ICE history, and I gave you a list last week that showed over 30 names of people that died in ICE custody. Already in 2026, we've seen 9 fatalities, 3 shootings, and 6 in detention. So you can do the math. I believe that outside this building right now, there's a candlelight vigil in their memories. We've got to connect the dots. ICE has officially abandoned the constitutional standard of probable cause. Under recent federal guidance, they have shifted to reasonable cause, a standard that permits detention without regard to citizenship and can be based on accent, skin color, or simply being in the wrong neighborhood. When you pair that lowered legal standard with $1,000 cash bonuses for raw arrest records, you create a bounty system. In a city like Escondido, where over 50% of our residents are Hispanic, we cannot host an organization that views a Spanish accent as evidence or sees my neighbor as an opportunity for a bonus check. Renewing this lease is not trivial. It is endorsement of a rogue operation. Our local police are professionals, unlike ICE, and they operate in alignment with the Fourth Amendment. They understand that looking a certain way is not a crime. By hosting ICE, we are violating the spirit and potentially the letter of SB 54, the California Values Act, was designed to prevent local resources from being used for this exact brand of discriminatory volume-based law enforcement. Finally, look at the math. This contract grosses $67,000. In Escondido, a fast food worker grosses $42,000 a year. After city expenses, we're netting less than the salary of a single entry-level worker. My feeling is that we shouldn't compromise the safety of our citizens and the reputation of our police department for one paycheck. If even one Escondido citizen is harmed because we welcome this failed experiment of an agency and their unconstitutional reasonable cause standard into our town, everyone on this city council will be remembered forever as complicit. Your vote is a public record, and you will be the council that sold out its neighbors for pocket change. I'll go first. Say no to ICE, not in our backyard, and not on our range. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Amelia. Amelia? Oh, there you go.
My name is Amalia, and I've lived in Escondido for over 20 years, and I'll first address my comments to the city manager, Sean, before I address the council. Nearly 3 months ago, we had a special election for Prop 50. One particular polling station had an incident of electioneering. The police were called, as well as the sheriff's office, your office, and some council members. As far as I know, the person guilty of electioneering was not asked to leave and has had no repercussions for his infraction. Voters were in hours-long lines and denied restroom access. In the following city council meeting, council members Consuelo Martinez and Joe Garcia requested that you get in touch with the registrar of voters and give us an incident report. Many of us have been waiting and have not heard of any update of the report. I understand that Zach will be doing that in a couple weeks, but that was before I did this, okay? Now you and the city council are hearing outcry from members of the community regarding the contract between the police chief you hired and the city-owned shooting range. I join my community in outrage for this contract, but do not use this as a reason not to give us the report on the polling station, because it's been months and we're waiting. What I've noticed is that those who serve in this chamber like to kick the can down the road when it comes to the concerns of the citizens who speak up. Community members have spoken to you dozens of times regarding the fears our communities have lived through under this administration and its use of ICE to terrorize those who live here. And according to the Deportation Data Project, Escondido leads the region in arrests. My daughter's not a fan of scary movies. She would close her eyes and cover her ears because that was her coping mechanism. I think you all thought that if we brought up our concerns about ICE multiple times over this past year, that you could just close your eyes and cover your ears in hopes that it would all go away. And that is not what leaders do. And now the new police chief has rolled out the red carpet for agents to come through our city so that they can practice to shoot more accurately those they mean to target. This ties into the Prop 50 polling station incident because that station primarily serves Latino voters. The EPD-DHS contract is an issue because ICE agents are literally tearing apart Latino communities. Before the special election, this city council, except for the sole Democrat, Consuelo Martinez, voted to adopt a resolution opposing Prop 50. We had 50% voter turnout in this city for that special election. Of those who voted, only 42% agreed with the four of you. That means 80% of this city council aligns with only a fraction of its residents. And I think it's time that residents, AKA voters, know that. Two of you Republicans are up for re-election. Councilman Joe Garcia, a Latino man who has a very close relationship with the EPD, and Mayor Dane White, that despite his namesake is meant to serve all residents. It's the job of the police chief to protect the citizens he serves. It is Sean's job to manage the city. It's the council's job to serve Escondido and all of its residents. And right now, you're not doing a good job. The man who sits in the White House does not care that he's making all of your jobs harder. I don't care that he's making all of your jobs harder. We just want you to finally do your job. And I look forward to the report, Sean. Thank you for your time.
Our final speaker is Cody Barnes.
Hello, my name is Cody Barnes. I've been living in San Diego since 2013, not as long as many of you. But I live in a part of San Diego or a small community that I think is probably one of the most diverse communities in the country. Mr. Garcia, you're probably familiar with Eureka Springs, where we have a very wide, diverse group of people there from all around the world. But I'm not here to convince you whether or not ICE is good or bad, whether they're doing a good job or bad job. I think you know my position based on my sticker alone. And if the events that have happened over the last couple of weeks haven't convinced you, let alone the testimonies of the people in this room, what chance do I stand against the fire hose of Fox News and OAN and all those groups? But what I do want to talk to you about is how this works with our police department. The most powerful weapon of the police is not a gun, and the best protection is not a bulletproof vest. Councilwoman Fitzgerald, I think you know that better than anybody up there. It is the cooperation of the community. It is the support of the community. And when you have a community that's made up of 49.6% immigrants, not including first and second generation immigrants that are here, that are currently frightened and hiding in their house and afraid of what's going on outside, having our police department cooperate with that in any way, even if it's just perception, is a very dangerous situation. We may not agree on whether ICE is good or bad, or whether what President Trump is doing is good or bad. Clearly, I don't agree with four of you, I'm pretty sure. But we can agree that that we do not want crime in our cities. that we want to give our police department the tools that they need to fight that crime. And by pitting them against our residents, by making more than half of our residents, by the way, half of our residents voted for Biden in this election, look at the police department and say, well, they seem to be biased, right? They're with ICE, and they're our enemy right now. That is probably the most dangerous thing that you can do for our police department. I encourage you, please, please cancel this contract. Ask our police chief to cancel this police contract. It is dangerous for our community, not just because of ICE running around, but because what happens on day-to-day with normal people interacting with our officers. Thank you very much.
No further public comment.
This meeting is adjourned.